Welcome back, everybody, to the Word Around the Ring podcast. My name is Big Rob, and I'll let my tag partner introduce himself.
You can call me King Jess, and we're the only podcast that's willing to live react within the chamber if WWE wants. Big Dog, the road to WrestleMania is getting bumpy. From Roman maybe not even being in the main event picture to Kevin and Sammy wanting to destroy one another. I'd say neither of us would have predicted this year's road would pan out this way. But let's not waste any more time, Big Dog. What's been the word around the ring?
Yes, sir. And it would not be a road to WrestleMania without none other than The Rock himself. As we found out earlier last week when we were leading up to the most recent episode of SmackDown, the night before, The Rock just posted that uh, he was going to be in live attendance at the episode of SmackDown at the next airing, which was this last Friday in New Orleans. So of course, everyone started to speculate. Everyone was excited. I know I immediately texted you and we said, all right, here we go. Let's see what we're cooking up. And the thing that was interesting about it was he advertised it as the final boss making his return. So we were already thinking what's gonna happen, who is he gonna call out, what is going to be what The Rock is going to deliver to us. I immediately was excited because I thought, okay, how are we going to bring the Roman versus Rock match together finally? How is it going to happen? But when you first saw the online rumblings, all the chit chats, The Rock posting his video of him making his return and announcing that he'll be at the next episode, what did you think? What were your first thoughts? Who was the opponent that came to mind for you immediately as soon as you saw that he was coming back as the final boss?
I think they announced it maybe like the day before, or maybe a couple days before they was gonna be there. So I was with you. I think you and me were on both on the same page. I thought he was gonna come back to continue this Bloodline storyline, or maybe even just start teasing at a prospective match against Roman or something like that. But that's definitely not the case. We did not get that at all. We went a different way, and I guess we maybe could have predicted that just because he did. I think the last thing he tweeted right before he even showed up to the arena was something about Cody and a picture of Cody's watch that Cody gave him
Yes.
the last time that they saw each other or whatever. But so going into this, I would say that I thought, like I said, just like you, we were going to get something versus Roman, but that wasn't the case. We ended up getting Cody showing up instead.
Definitely, yeah. Happy to talk about it. But you bring up a great point here. Before it was the same day, so Friday afternoon, I think The Rock posted a picture on his Instagram of a Rolex watch, and it came out that this was actually the watch that Cody had gifted Rock following their match at WrestleMania. For those of you who don't know, Cody had gifted Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Rock all the same watches so they could have a matching sets. This was just to commemorate the main event match that they had all put on together. And during the promo that The Rock and Cody Rhodes had on the Monday Night Raw following WrestleMania, The Rock handed Cody something in his hands that we as viewers didn't get to see. But the speculation was that it was the watch that Cody had gifted The Rock. And come to find out, as The Rock confirmed this last Instagram post, that yes, it was the watch that Cody had gifted him. So we knew that, okay, maybe Roman isn't going to be the focus here. Maybe we get a story or a match, even maybe with The Rock and Cody. I immediately started texting you. I said, oh shit, okay. If he's focusing on Cody, then how is he going to make his way into the Elimination Chamber? How is he going to. Who is he going to kick out? Who is he going to cost? What spot? I'm just, already thinking like Rock is. There's a match here. Clearly, he's excited. Clearly, he's decided that, and he needs to return to WWE television because it's the road to WrestleMania. So I, very similar to you, was of the belief that we were going to get a match here, but The Rock shows up on this last episode of Friday Night. He wasn't the opener. I think he wasn't even the main event, really. He was not. He was
Mhm.
the second to last promo. And so there was some anticipation there. I think the crowd was also really like impatiently waiting for him to show up. And when he finally did, when the music hits, the lightning struck. There was a change in his theme music. They played a little, I think it was a Little Wayne song that they played with
Mm-hmm.
some New Orleans themed background music because of course they were in New Orleans. He comes out, it was a little switch up, but then of course he goes back to the original rock theme song. He makes his way into the ring. He grabs the mic as he so famously does. Oh, hilariously, I can't fail to mention, while he was making his entrance, The Rock actually climbed up to the ring. And then he noticed something looking at the fans on the hard camera side. He noticed something and then he exited the ring. He made his way around to the hard camera barricade. He reached down to the floor, picked up a fan's phone, and handed it back to that fan who was sitting ringside. And then he walked back into the ring. I have never seen a wrestler do this in all my life of watching WWE. Before we even get into the meat of it, what did you think of that moment when The Rock decided to step out? He was already in the ring, ready to cut the promo, but he decided, you know what? Before I even start this promo, let me get out of the ring, go grab this fan's phone who's clearly just fell across the barricade and hand it over to him. What were your thoughts on that? I'm not trying to make it a big deal. I just thought it was very funny.
No, I mean, I think it's very simple, right? I think it's just the pandering. It's corporate rock. We've seen this recently a lot with him, where he just comes out and he's the guy. He's shaking hands, kissing babies, and I think it's just one of those things where, like, he saw fun and he saw a moment where he can get this. He could get people to talk and be like, "Oh, The Rock. He's such a good guy. He gave the fan their phone back." I don't think it's anything more than that. I think, like I said, it's just
Okay.
staying face. I think it's him. I've mentioned this to you before. I don't think he actually liked the heat that he got last time he was on WWE television. So I think he's just making the
Mhm.
corrective moves to try to, like, seem like a baby face in the eyes of the fans again. So other than that, I just
Yeah.
thought that's what it was, like, just corporate rock doing his corporate rock thing. But other than that, yeah, nothing big. It was funny though. I've never, like you said, I don't think I've ever seen a wrestler pick up the phone, but I've also never really seen anyone drop their phone on the other side. I mean, I'm sure it happens all the time with fans getting all rowdy and shit, but
Mhm.
I've never seen a situation like that, so that was pretty interesting to see.
I thought it was the funniest shit watching it in real time. I just couldn't believe he went because I was confused. I was watching. I'm like, why the fuck is he going out of the ring again? You're already in the ring, and he goes over to hand the fan the phone. I didn't even think about it the way you did, where he's trying to stay in good graces with the fans. That makes sense. When I first saw it, I was like, is this fucker drunk? Like, did he have a shot already? Um,
Two, apparently.
but Tua, yeah, nah, he definitely had something before this, but that was the beginning of the promo, and then of course he gets back into the ring, grabs the mic, and as you mentioned, he starts off this promo. I would say in as corporate rock, not even final boss rock. He started off this promo as the corporate representation of the character of the Rock, and he announces to the fans in New Orleans that he has a huge announcement. In 2026, WrestleMania will officially be returning to New Orleans for WrestleMania 42. And so the crowd was hyped, popped the fireworks, everyone was excited. He continues to sing their praises, the city's praises. And I believe the last time WrestleMania was in New Orleans was when Daniel Bryan won the championship. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so clearly WrestleMania and New Orleans have a strong connection. The fans love it. That was probably one of my favorite backdrops in for any WrestleMania entrances as well. It
Oh,
was that last time
100%.
they were in. That was a beautiful stage that they set up for that one.
I
So
love
excited to see what.
I love those
Go ahead.
colors, like the green, the purples, the golds. Like for Noah,
Hmm.
I love those colors. I love the graphic design for it. Um,
Hmm.
it's definitely one of my favorite ones. That's also, I could be wrong. You could fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure that's when the streak was broken, right?
I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. When was I will Google that to fact
Because
check it.
if that's when Daniel Bryan won the double night, the two matches in one night, then I think that's when the streak was broken as well.
Yeah, it was WrestleMania 30. So no, you're definitely right.
So
It
I mean,
was
definite history with
what the fuck.
with WWE and NOLA. So I even put in my notes, NOLA round two. and it better live up to the
What the fuck?
expectation, dude. Because last time we
Yeah.
were in NOLA was a big show. Was a big show.
Yeah. Damn. Fucking Undertaker losing at WrestleMania. That's insane. Yes, that was at WrestleMania 30. Thank you for reminding me. But anyways, The Rock continues to sing the city's praises, but all of a sudden there was a switch in demeanor.
The
Once he
final
made the
boss.
announcement, once the fireworks popped, the demeanor changed. He immediately went into the final boss and he was singing a song. He was singing a New Orleans related song, and then the crowd started to sing with him. And he basically said, "Shut your ass up. I didn't tell y'all to sing with me, so I'm gonna need y'all to shut the fuck up." I think went so far to say he called them some form of STD having city, as he so famously reverts to either calling cities crackheads or having some form of STDs. I think he called Phoenix a city full of crackheads, which I thought was hilarious. But The Rock went into the final boss form and he immediately, let the fans know, I wouldn't just come here to announce that WrestleMania was going to be in New Orleans next year. All as exciting as that is, that's not the only reason why I'm here. I'm actually here to pay tribute and to call out someone who I admire, who I respect, and who I've become very close friends with over the last year. And that is none other than our champion himself, Mr. Cody Rhodes. So I'm already conflicted, right? I'm listening to this shit. I'm like, hey, Rock, relax. Why are you telling us? Why are you telling us that that you're friends with Cody? In kayfabe, like I'm already like, all right, what are we doing here? Right? I'm already nervous. I'm already nervous. But anyways, back to the topic. So out comes Cody. Cody doesn't seem as excited as he usually is. He comes out, does his little shtick, does his entrance, the whoa. We got to get all the pops. And he gets his mic. Him and Rock get in the ring. Rock is still taking over. He's still talking. He's talking to Cody. He says, "Cody, we've become really good friends over the last year, ever since our match at WrestleMania. Um, and even your mom and my mom hang out now. I met your family. You were at the premiere of Moana in Hawaii, and just giving us all these details about the backstage. He's opening the backstage curtains on this friendship that they've had. And it's now I'm getting a little concerned because now I'm like, what are we doing here? Well, what are we talking about here? I'm hoping when I saw The Rock come back, I said we're finally getting Roman. Then he posted the Rolex watch. I'm like, all right, I could do Rock and Cody. I can get behind that. But now he's in the middle of the ring talking about how they're friends. So now I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? And mind you, I'm shortening this shit. This shit, he was rambling for a solid 15,
Way too
20
long.
minutes. Way too long. Talking to Cody about I don't even fucking know. But then he tells Cody, Cody, last year I told you you're never gonna break my heart again. I I want that championship, but most importantly, what I want is for you to be my champion. And then Cody was taken aback, right? He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? My champion." And I'm like, I was taken aback. I said, "What does that even mean? You want him to be your champion?" That's a weird way to word that. And so when he said my champion, I'm like, okay, is he talking about like his fake people's championship that he's been carrying around? Is that what he means? Like, does he want him to be that champion? So I'm confused. But then he goes into a little bit more detail, and then Cody gets to my. He's like, "Hey, Rock, as much as that's endearing, I'm not. I won't ever be your champion. I'm always going to be their champion." Pointing at the fans. The fans get a loud pop, but the Rock is like, "Hold up now, pimp, slow down. Listen to me, listen to me." He's like, "Look, I could bring you the riches. I could bring you all the success. I could bring you all the glory if you just come over, and you become my champion." And, at the end of the day, Cody, all I really want is that. And he puts his finger on Cody's championship. Cody looks at the championship. He looks at The Rock, and he's like, "All you want is the championship." He's like, "No, no. What I want is your soul." Now I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now I'm like, whoa, what is going on? You want it? Rock looks at Cody in the eye. He's like, "I want your soul." And now I'm confused. Now I'm like, yo, what is going on? What are you talking about? You want his soul? And Cody is looking around all confused and shit. So what the fuck is you mean? And The Rock is like, "Listen, You don't got to give me an answer today, but I'm going to be returning at next week's Elimination Chamber in Toronto. And then you can let me know whose champion you want to be. If you want to roll with me or if you want, to continue doing what you're doing. And then he walks out of the ring. The camera continues to pan to him as he walks out. He continues to look at Cody while Cody's in the middle of the ring. Cody's confused. He hasn't even looked at The Rock anymore. Mind you, I didn't even share the fact that when he said, "I want your soul," he kind of grabbed Cody's face. It was weird. It was crazy. I don't know what the fuck was going on here, but it was just an uncomfortable segment. Uncomfortable because The Rock couldn't get to the point quick enough. Uncomfortable because of the words that they decided to use, the verbiage, and it just felt like they came together the night before and they tried to put together something, um, and unfortunately, it wasn't well executed. At least that's what I got from it. I was excited to see The Rock. I was excited for the build up to Mania, but that is where we were left off at. So now we're waiting in angst to see, first of all, what the fuck did he mean by "you want your soul"? And second of all, what is Cody going to say? How is Cody going to respond at the Elimination Chamber? So we're going to find out what happens, what The Rock meant, what Cody's going to decide to do, which we got a little bit more detail on that following today's episode of Monday Night Raw, as we're recording this on Monday, February 24th. So we'll add some context in a little bit. But before we get there, I want to ask you, this Rock segment here, how did you feel about it in its entirety? We'll start off with the first couple of announcements. How excited are you for WrestleMania to be returning to New Orleans? And just did you enjoy the remix of the Rock song as well, during when he made his entrance? And just first overall thoughts on the segment as a whole, and then we can get into a little bit more detail.
So yeah, I mean, I love the special Nola entrance just because the graphics for it were all. I'm guessing old graphics that they used for the last Nola one. Maybe they made some new ones or something. But like you said, Little Wayne was playing in the background. I thought it was hype. I know that there's a little bit of rumblings that we might have a couple superstars performing this year at Mania. So that kind of puts me into the thought that maybe because The Rock played Little Wayne, maybe they'll give Little Wayne the performance at NOLA. That would be hype. We'll have to wait and see. But he came out. The Rock came out. I told you last week. I think I just said on the pod. I was like, I'm just gonna stop wishing that he shows up because when we don't wish him to show up, he'll shows up. And what happened? We didn't wish him to show up this week, and he finally fucking showed up. I just wish it wasn't as disappointing as it was. The last time The Rock came back was for Monday Night Raw on Netflix for the first event, and that was disappointing. But at least it happened early in the show. I wish this would have happened early in the show because I think I'm with you in the same belief that they came together. The Rock probably had some commitments or whatever. They got cleared, and they came together last minute just to put something together, and it just didn't come off well. The whole time The Rock was on some different vibes, something we've never really seen him on. Like you had mentioned, he started off with his corporate rock at the beginning, and then he flipped the switch. I think the STD that he mentioned for the place that they were at was herpes, if I'm correct. But he flipped the switch. He went a little bit heel, and then he did the weird thing of bringing Cody out. And to be honest, I was just confused because I was like, okay, if we're not going Rock Roman, then Rock Cody kind of in a sense makes sense, but how are you going to interject this for this year, next year? If you seal this in for next year, then that means we know that Cody will not be losing this belt for like a whole nother year. So my first thoughts on this, I was very fucking confused. And then he went off and he did the weird shit that you were talking about. He was touching Cody's face. He was touching the belt. He was talking that they were friends. Their moms are friends. I was like, bro, like chill. Like what the fuck is? A couple months ago, you guys were slapping each other. What the fuck happened to that shit? And now he comes with the verbiage. And I will say this, and we could get into details after this. I felt like when he came over and he presented this storyline of "I want you to be my champion," I kind of took it of kind of like in the old days where like you would kind of pigeonhole a champion, kind of like let's say Undertaker. You would pigeonhole him by someone taking away the urn and then Undertaker doing their bidding. That's kind of how I feel like this might play out, where The Rock kind of holds something over Cody, and Cody kind of has to do his bidding. We might see him even do some kind of heel things. I think
Okay.
that this is where we're heading, where The Rock knows that his time in the ring is pretty much over. You know, there's maybe one or
Mhm.
two matches that we want to see of him, and we don't really want him to hurt himself before we get those matches. So I think he's
Mhm.
interjecting himself in a kind of a manager role behind the scenes where he could kind of use his power or use the gimmick of his power to make Cody the champion do his bidding for him. So I think that that's initially where my thoughts are to where this storyline's going, but I'd love to hear what you thought and where do you think this is going? Do you think that we get to see a lot of Rock more from starting from here on out, or do you think The Rock
Mhm.
goes away for a while and comes back just periodically to kind of torment Cody if he ends up joining Rock?
I see. This is very interesting. I like what you just brought up with the whole Undertaker analogy, how people would use the urn as a manipulative tactic over him. I didn't think about it in that sense. If there's something that The Rock could hold over Cody, and in turn turn Cody into like that anti-hero character where he's conflicted with the things he's doing, but he has to do it. That could be interesting. Um, where I thought immediately as soon as this was over, I said, okay, when I was watching this, when I was watching The Rock grab Cody's face, I said, Roman has to feel some type of way about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because my first thought is now Roman Rock, like that is the end game. That's the end game. How do we get, how do we get to Roman versus Rock? That's what everyone wants. That's what we've been waiting for. And listen, I feel like The Rock feels some type of way that the fans last year said, this is great. Like Roman Rock would be great, but just not right now
Mm-hmm.
because Cody and Roman is just simply greater. And I think he feels some type of way about that. And I am of the belief that I don't think we're gonna get Rock versus Roman. Now watching this unfold the way it has been, I don't think we're ever gonna get a Rock versus Roman match, unfortunately,
Hmm.
unless. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. In terms of Cody versus The Rock here in this storyline, I don't see Cody giving into The Rock. I think what's gonna happen here is very similar to what you said. The Rock is gonna manipulate someone, or someone's going to turn to him instead of Cody's place, and Rock's gonna choose them, and he's gonna have them go after Cody's championship and just turn Cody's life into a living hell because at the end of the day, he is the final boss. Um, he is the end all be all in the WWE. He didn't fail to mention it in this promo as well. There was a point where he was like, "Look, I'm not even like," he said, "I'm not even a WWE exec. I'm on the board of TKO. I'm on the board of the parent company that owns you. I'm not. I'm just on a different level." And he didn't fail to mention that during this promo. So he reminded us, the fans, of where he stands in the pyramid, and that is clearly at the top. But within the storyline itself, where I hope that it goes is hopefully Cody, decides to say, I'm the people's champion, because there's been speculation that this could be a very easy route for Cody to turn Homelander. And I know you've been on it. You want to see that one day. Do you would you want to see Cody turning Homelander or into that heel character going via this avenue? Like, would this be okay for you? Would you be upset if Cody were to decide to shake hands with The Rock and be his champion per se?
So this is something that we instantly discussed, me and my buddy Chris, after it was over. And I asked him, I was like, is this the moment where, The Rock kind of forces Cody to be Homelander? And I think both me and him agree when we say that this isn't the move. Like, we want to see Cody Homelander, or Cody become Homelander just on his own. We want him to finally snap and for that moment to happen. I think forcing it through just having Rock be that person that makes him do bad stuff, I don't think that's the way we do it, but it is a part of how we get
Mhm.
there. You know, we have him do a bunch of stuff through The Rock that he doesn't want to do, and all his friends kind of start, you know, like they are now, questioning him, like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" And I think that'll be the final, you know, snap in the twig that makes us get that Cody Homelander. The, hey, my friends don't trust me anymore. The company doesn't trust me anymore. So, you know, I'm just gonna do my thing, and he's gonna go full heel. If they do it through this means where like The Rock is the one that force changes him, I feel like that's gonna be wasted potential.
No, I agree. I would love for it to be fleshed out and not to be an easy out here. I think that's a whole year in it of itself. Cody turning into Homelander, and there's already like glimpses of it with him,
Mm-hmm.
putting Kevin Owens through that ladder using the Alabama Slam, um,
Flipping
and
out on
murdering Kevin
Mello.
Owens. Yeah, and flipping out on Mello. And no, just doing the most. Even that promo he had with CM Punk a few weeks ago, where he's telling him, look, brother, I'm not chasing you anymore. You're chasing me. I am the prize. Um, like he's gaining that confidence. He's getting that snarkiness to him, and you can see his character evolving and changing little by little. He always reverts back to the fans,
Mm-hmm.
still, but it's not like with Cena. You never saw Cena fall. Like he never faltered between being like a baby face and an anti-hero. Nah. Cena for the most part was through and through, like there was never a question. There
Mm-hmm.
was never a question. He was clean the way through, the entire way through. And so it's interesting to see Cody play be able to, kind of roll into that devil's advocate a little bit. But back to the topic. I think at the end of the day, what's going to happen here is I think there's going to be someone else who's going to be Rock's champion per se. They're going to choose that person to go after Cody. Who that's going to be, I am not 100% sure. I have some speculation. I'm curious. And I think it's one of three people. I think it's going to be CM Punk. If I would have to bet money, I would
Oh.
say CM Punk. If not CM Punk, then Seth Rollins. If not Seth Rollins, then Drew McIntyre. The reason I
Wow.
say this is because for my reasoning behind CM Punk, crazy, and I've seen some fans talk about this on online and Twitter and Reddit pages as well. Is the last time The Rock made his return to a wrestle? Not even the last time, it was last year, but before that, one of the few times The Rock returned during WrestleMania season was when CM Punk was getting ready to main event his first WrestleMania. But The Rock came back. He had the match against John Cena, if I'm not mistaken. CM Punk was no longer in the main event picture, and and that was one of the many reasons Punk decided to leave the company at the time. He was upset about that. And his whole shtick now is, chasing the WrestleMania main event. And as The Rock mentioned, who would be better suited to grant someone that wish other than someone who's on the executive board of the parent company, The Rock. That's a perfect, I think, in my opinion, that's a fantastic heel turn. Imagine the heat that CM Punk would get for shaking the hand of the man that he hated for 10 years for taking the spot that he so rightfully deserved at that time, coming back a decade later to say fuck everything you ever stood for and shake hands with the devil and then get your main event match in that form. I think that would be amazing heel work. And sending CM Punk back into being a heel, I would love to see it in 2025. The fans, he's come out every week, isn't it great to be alive in whatever city I'm in? And that's all fine and all. But how fun would it be to see a heel CM Punk in 2025? I want to hear your thoughts on that fantasy booking that I just gave you first before I move into the Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. What are your thoughts on that there?
I'm gonna give my quick thoughts. I think that's a crazy ass theory that I didn't even think of, but it makes a lot of sense. You're bringing up a lot of good points. Would I want to see CM heel CM Punk in 2025, 2026? I don't know. I feel like CM Punk has turned like a new leaf, and I feel like he is kind of this, I don't know, fan favorite kind of face
Mhm.
and this
For
locker
sure.
room leader in the back room now. So I don't know if necessarily he would go that route. But like I said, you're making
Hmm.
a very good case. Just all the points that you made, coming back to the company, you know, succumbing to the evil that once he hated, like that. All those are all great points. So there might be some legitimacy in that theory. But let me hear other two theories. I would want to hear because the person that I was thinking you didn't even mention, and I'm pretty sure that you know who I'm gonna say.
Okay,
But I mean, I didn't. These three people
interesting.
were definitely not the three people that I thought who could be that other champion.
Hey, don't, bro. If you sit here, oh my God, if you sit here and tell me you think John Cena is gonna be
No,
the
what? No,
champion,
okay,
oh,
I'm not
okay,
that dumb.
all
I'm
right,
not
all
that.
right, all right, all right.
but
Um,
but
'cause
but I'm not trying. Just
um, my second one here is Seth Rollins. The reason why I think it might be Seth Rollins is because who has been the greatest backstabber of the 21st century other than Seth Rollins. This
Kevin
man
Owens.
broke up the Shield. I don't know, but Seth Rollins broke up the Shield, and we got the Tribal Chief out of that
That's
situation,
true.
and we
That's
got
true.
Dean Ambrose, and we got the Architect, and we got Seth where he is now. So I would I would give it to Seth, but
Okay. Okay.
this man is known for turning his back on his friends, joining the Authority back in the day. And then he has a reason. He has a reason to kind of hate Cody. We got over that last year because he teamed up with Cody at WrestleMania 40, of course. But he has a reason. There's validity there. Because who was the first opponent that Cody faced when he returned to the WWE at WrestleMania 38? It was Seth Rollins. Um, and then who did he beat with a torn pec, bro? He beat him with one arm, bro. Seth Rollins. And so there's some story there already, and I think it would just be the easy pick. The guy who, has been hurt for the last year or so. He's been battling some injuries, and he always seems to find the easy way out. So I think this is another opportunity for him to, align himself with The Rock. That this one doesn't make as much sense in kayfabe though, just being where they stand, especially with their match last year, Seth and Cody versus Roman and Rock. So this one's a bit of a long shot, but I could see there's a universe in which it would happen. Any thoughts on Seth Rollins? Do you think who do you have? Who has a bigger chance of serving this purpose? Would you say Seth or Cody would be the Rock's champion if you had to pick?
Ooh. I mean, just because of the storylines, like we just broken them down, if we wanna, pursue this inevitable breaking of Cody Rhodes into Homelander, I would say that the better fit for champion would be Cody. The only reason I'll fight back on the Seth Rollins is just because Seth Rollins, again, another person that who personally has like changed a leaf, at least character wise. He's seen as this like fan favorite, doesn't really do any bad anymore. He's kind of fighting everybody that's kind of going up against everything that they've established so far. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't go with Seth, is just because he has been competitive against Sammy and Kevin for doing all these things against people that they were against not too long ago. So that's the only pushback I would give on Seth.
Yeah,
I also, like you said, it just doesn't really make that much sense. Like why put them two against each other? My champion is Seth, you're the champion. You brought it up. We've already seen something like that with the Authority storyline that we did a long time in the quote unquote golden age of WWE. So on the Seth one, I'm gonna say that one doesn't make any sense to me. But go ahead and break down your Drew McIntyre one.
yeah. Drew McIntyre is just an easy pick for me. He's been screwed out for the last fucking month or so, 2 months, 3 months, a year, I would say. He's lost every important match besides winning the Money in the Bank, only to cash it in and lose it and not cash in successfully the same night. He lost in his home country, and he just makes sense to me in terms of he's believable as a character, as a wrestler. He hates everybody but himself. He thinks everyone, especially he feels like the bloodline screwed him over the last 3 years. And so what better way to get them back by teaming up with their highest of chiefs, I guess, and becoming his workhorse and earning his way or working his way, treating his way to a championship opportunity. At WrestleMania with some assistance for The Rock in the chamber. So I think Drew would just be an easy pick. There's also a video of, Drew recently signed his contract, a contract extension with the WWE, and The Rock had personally delivered a sword to Drew to celebrate him and this contract extension. So there's some videos about that going on. That might play a role. They already have a friendship there. So WWE doesn't do things like this without having a reason. And so I think that's just an easy pick. And I would love that for Drew. I would personally just love that for Drew after the year that he's had. If we can get him out of WrestleMania without having to face Damian Priest and give him a main event match, that'd be great. But what are your thoughts on Drew McIntyre there?
This will make sense. Like you said, what better way of getting back at your enemies than, aligning yourself with the person that they hate the most? And again, like you said, Drew's been on this losing streak. We've said this for weeks where something has to come from it. He can't just be losing for nothing. So if this is it, if they, flip the script on us and give us something that none of us would expect, I would say that Drew's probably the best fit out of the three that you mentioned for this because one, people won't see it coming, and two, it just makes sense. Once people realize it, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And any of the other possibilities that we probably had in our mind don't make sense, but this one does. And like you said, if this gets Drew out of WrestleMania match with Damian Priest yet again, then I'm okay with it because we mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I don't want to see that anytime soon. Like we're done with Priest facing the same people that we've seen him face for the past year and a half or whatever. Give him new opponents. That's why we sent him down to SmackDown. So Drew is one out of the three. I would say the strongest pick that I would say out of your three picks. My pick is a little bit more straightforward. You mentioned it before. We have a lot of story to tell if we ever want to get back to a Roman versus Rock. So just based off of what we saw this week, and this will be a good segue into the next topic, I think my pick for Rock Champion has to be Jacob. Just because Jacob has been showing he's making moves to try to take over. There's this tension between him and Solo right now. Solo's actually, giving him that nod of like, hey, I love you. I want you to be the one to win the champion. So just this with the fact that we still have another Samoan that's waiting in the wings, I think this might be the perfect opportunity for Rock to say, Jacob, you're going to be my pick. Not only are you family, but you're killing it out on the product right now. And we're going to kick out Solo. We're going to bring in Taiku Leo. And this is how we progress into, Roman being mad that he's not even being considered for this bloodline drama. And he ends up going up against The Rock. So I feel like we still have, that's still the goal. I think eventually we still have Rock versus Roman. Like I said, I think Rock knows that he has a certain amount of matches left in him. And we want him to be up to par when those happen. And I think this is one. I think it has to go down with all the hype that they've done. This isn't where we give up on it. And I think this is the start of it. I think if Cody does turn it down and we don't go with the way of him carrying out The Rock's, evil do's, then I think Jacob is the chosen champion. He kicks out Solo, brings in Tekuleo, and we progress this bloodline storyline. Because we said this a couple months ago, there's still a lot of storyline to say within that bloodline storyline. And we have all the time. These kids, they're still young, they can still go. We have all the time in the world to tell it, but there are certain parts like The Rock where we don't have that much more time. We only have a couple more years with him being able to be active in the ring. So on my end, that's who I would pick. I want to know your thoughts on my pick. I know it's a little bit just more straightforward because it is the storyline that's currently going on, but to me, I think it's an easy pick to go with Jacob.
It is an easy pick to go with Jacob, and I would love that for Jacob if he were in the Elimination Chamber. Like, if he was in the Elimination Chamber himself, then I'd say, yeah, easy money. Jacob's got to be the champion. But because he's not directly involved in this year's Elimination Chamber, it would be tough. I wouldn't see a world where Jacob finds himself in a match against Cody or giving himself a I wouldn't see a world where he finds himself in a match against Cody to bring that championship back home at WrestleMania 41. So that's the only reason why I don't think it's going to be Jacob now. Um uh but it is an easy pick. Like if he comes back and Cody's like, yeah, I'm not picking you. And then at the Elimination Chamber, I'm not going to be your champion. And Jacob's in the background, and it's like unleashing a hound, a fucking pit bull. That would be sick. But I just don't know how it would play into the WrestleMania 40 picture, which is my only concern at this moment. But Jacob is the easy pick. And the end goal is Roman versus Rock. Listen, I want it to happen, but the motherfucker don't seem like he wanted to happen himself. Um, but maybe I'm reading too much in between the lines. Maybe they are setting it up. But Roman not being on television is kind of tough to see where this all takes place and where he fits into this mold, because like Rock didn't even mention Roman at all. He didn't mention him at all at this, like during this promo with Cody. It
Hmm.
was none of his concern, and that's what worried me. Like, you ain't gonna worry him, you're not even gonna mention him. He doesn't even get a name drop. Like, nah, bro. That's what my concern is, and that's why I'm just not confident in Rock versus Roman anymore. Like, I want it to happen. But if I had to bet money on it, if I had to bet money on it, I would still bet yes that it's gonna happen. But I'm teetering. I'm teetering between. I'm right there. In a couple weeks, we'll have to wait and see. But it is now the official road to WrestleMania with The Rock returning. You mentioned it already. The Bloodline. I want to talk about a little bit about them, and your boy Jacob Fatu. You know, we're big fans of him. He's been killing it over the last couple of weeks. Very interestingly enough, over the course of the last few weeks, Solo Sikoa has returned to SmackDown, but it hasn't been the gracious return that maybe he was awaiting. He left the last time he left. He was the leader of the new bloodline, Jacob Fatu, Tamatanga Tangaloa. That was up until Roman Reigns defeated him at the debut of Netflix on Raw and took his Ulafala back, claiming his rightful spot as the tribal chief and as the only tribal chief. And ever since then, Solo went off television until he made his return a few weeks ago, where he tried to get a few words off, but the fans booed him on a SmackDown episode. He walked out. Jacob Fatu and Tamatonga were clearly upset. He went away for about another week or so, and then he finally returned during a match with Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga. It was a tag match. Solo showed up at the end of the match to Samoan spike Cody. Then we returned the following week, and Solo Sokoa was and Jacob Solo and Jacob hadn't had a conversation yet. Jacob showed up to SmackDown, telling everyone and asking, demanding to find out where his cousin was, until they met up in the back. And Solo and Jacob Fatu had a fiery discussion where Jacob was asking him, how the fuck you just gonna leave us? Basically, how you gonna leave us here stranded? No word from you. We've been trying to talk to you over the last few weeks, and you haven't said shit. And Solo was like, bro, I was sad. I was depressed. I just lost my Ula Fala. Like, how would you feel? And then, Jacob gave him some leeway. He was like, all right, whatever, man. But, shit's different now. I'm running shit now. And so, I'm just letting you know, if you're going to be around here, you're going to have to carry your weight. And we come back the next week. Well, no, that same week, I think Jacob Fatu had a triple threat match. Yes, Damian Priest versus Braun Strowman, and Jacob Fatu for the Elimination Chamber spots. And unfortunately, Solo Sikoa tried to help Jacob in this triple threat, but he ended up accidentally costing Jacob the match. Damian Priest won. And the following week, Jacob was pissed. He said, "Bro, how you gonna cost me the match? What kind of bullshit is you on?" And Solo was like, "Look, man, it was an accident. And Jacob hilariously said, "I know it was an accident because I know it was an accident because if I knew it was an accident, you wouldn't be standing here." And now Jacob is talking crazy. Now Jacob getting confident. He's letting Solo Sikoa know like this is my shit now, and it's been real interesting to see. But just Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa then had a tag match that same night, and unfortunately, they lost that match too, and it was Solo Sikoa's fault as well. So now Solo isn't in good standing with the Bloodline anymore, and we're just anxiously awaiting the official turn of Jacob Fatu deciding to just beat his older cousin's ass. And it's been great to see Jacob come into this spot here. He's been cutting promos every time he steps into the ring, and they've been fantastic. And it's just been so fun to watch Jacob. But I want to hear your thoughts on Solo Sikoa's returning to SmackDown television. What do you think is going to happen between Solo and the Bloodline here? Do you think we're going to get an official turn? Do you think Jacob is going to murder Solo Sikoa on live television the same way that we've seen him do Braun Strowman and others?
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up earlier. I think honestly, this is the way that we finally break up the, I guess, Bloodline 2.0 per se. And I had brought it up a couple months ago. I do think that Solo somehow reunites with the OG Bloodline. I feel like at some point we will get, The Rock's Bloodline 2.0 versus Roman's original Bloodline. And this is just starting to lay down the foundation of where that story is going. We've seen Jacob these last couple weeks, ever since Solo's return, just be frustrated with him, even going to the extent of telling him, "Hey, boy, uh, me and Tamatanga have been holding shit down. I think it's time for you to fucking hold shit down. So instead of him, you're coming with me tonight." And we saw how that ended. But I think all this just adds up to Jacob's frustration and eventually kicking him out. And Solo's going to be kind of lost for a while. I think we'll keep seeing the Solo that you had mentioned before, where he's sad or depressed and he's lost in the world. He doesn't know what to do. And I think that's when someone like a Jay or a Jimmy, if they're at that time working with Roman again, they extend that invitation and, they try to make that amends. So I do think that all these little tidbits that we're getting fed these past couple weeks all are going to lead up to Jacob finally taking the mantle and kicking Solo out, potentially, like I even said, bringing in Taiku Leo finally. So I think that this Bloodline storyline, I've said a million times, I'll say it again, has a lot to go, and I think that that's perfect because it gives us kind of a roadmap to what these guys will be doing for the next maybe year and a half.
They definitely have a long story to tell here. I do think this is going to result in, of course, a match between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Where that happens, I think we're close enough. I think this is going to happen at WrestleMania. Is that where that new member is going to enter? We'll see. Is that where he makes his debut for the WWE? We will see. But all in all, I do think this is going to result, of course, in a match. I think it's going to take place at WrestleMania. If I had to guess now, there'd be absolutely zero reason as to why the fuck Jacob Fatu should not win this match here. So he should definitely be going over. And then we'll hopefully get the return and the reunion of the original Bloodline at some point in 2025 or early 2026. But I'm just loving what we're getting from Jacob Fatu every Friday. I think he's been literally the only reason I've been tuning into SmackDown over the last couple of weeks is because of the Tiffany Stratton storyline, because I care about Tiffany
Mm-hmm.
and Jacob Fatu. Besides that, SmackDown, and Cody, because that's my champion. But besides that, whatever. SmackDown's just been a little bit of a downer as of lately. So I'm excited to see how Jacob continues to play this out and how he's gonna torment Solo Sikoa over the next couple months, because now it's an intimidation thing. Now Now Solo's afraid because he knows he fucked up. He's like, damn, I just cost us 2 matches. Oh, Jacob gonna kill me. And Jacob a lunatic. So he Solo's been there firsthand. He was the one that brought him in. He knows, why they weren't invited before. Paul Heyman told him we didn't reach out to them for reasons unknown because these motherfuckers was in jail. And so I think Solo Sikoa is gonna find out why no one called Jacob Fatu when they were forming the original bloodline. But it's gonna be fun. The bloodline story is always gonna take place in the WWE now, especially um with all the developments as of lately. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu match. What I'm most looking forward to is the return of the famous Tongaloa whenever that does happen. I'll be looking forward and excited for that. Um, and then in terms of the next topic that I want to get into here, I already mentioned her, Tiffany Stratton, and of course, Charlotte Flair. I want to hear your thoughts on the buildup that we've had so far. It's been an interesting one. We finally found out that Charlotte Flair has decided to face Tiffany Stratton for her WWE Women's Championship at this year's WrestleMania. So that decision has been set. It is finalized. And the way we came to that decision was following an attack from Nia Jax and Candice LeRae following a match between Candice and Tiffany Stratton. Um, they left Tiffany Stratton high and dry in the middle of the ring while Charlotte Flair was watching the match ringside. Once the match was over and they had left Tiffany Stratton crippled, Charlotte Flair grabbed a chair and walked into the middle of the ring, put the chair down, sat in it, all while Tiffany Stratton was just hunching over, grimacing in pain. And Charlotte said, I choose you, looking down at her. And that was the way the decision was made. And I personally, I didn't like the way they went about that. It was just strange behavior. I feel like I feel like it was just anticlimactic. For both Tiffany and Charlotte. I think like I get it. I guess they're going with the ultimate heel now that they found out that the fans weren't rocking with Charlotte at all. They said, you know what, we're gonna go ultimate heel move. Fuck it, and they sent her out. They said, go out there, get the chair, put it over her, say you're gonna face her, and call it a day. And it was just strange execution to me. It didn't create any hype for me in this match itself. I didn't like the way she was looking down on my champion. I felt that was a little disrespectful, and I get it, she's a heel, but I didn't like that not one bit. I'm gonna need Tiffany to get that lick back on that because that was super disrespectful. But how did you feel about the announcement and the execution of the announcement that Charlotte Flair was going to be selecting Tiffany to face her at WrestleMania?
Yeah, it's definitely not the way I probably would have done it. I think it's always great when the challenger just straight up, stands in front of the champ and challenges them upright. It kind of shows a level of respect. But then again, you said it pretty clear yourself. She's a heel and she's doing her heel thing, and I appreciate it. I'm someone that biasly will always be a Charlotte fan. No matter what she does, I'll be there unless she, does something unbelievably stupid. But I'll always be there, always be a Charlotte fan. So seeing her go heel is something that we're not necessarily used to seeing. We've always seen small tidbits of heel in her, but now it kind of seems like with the fans turning on her, she's just going full heel. And I think that's kind of what you need when you're going up against someone like Tiffany Stratton, because Tiffany, she has the crowd behind her no matter what. Ever since she got into the company, into the main roster, people have been asking to put on a belt on her, and she finally has it. She did have this match, and it was, like you said, it got broken down. I don't think she got beat enough for her to be laying on the floor for as long as she did while Charlotte was doing her thing. But it is what it is. They wanted to make Charlotte look strong for some reason, without her even attacking her, and this is the way that they went about it. But honestly, yeah, I feel like Tiffany does need to get some sort of lick back, or at least fucking accept the challenge front to front. You know, there has to be some type of level of respect or some type of challenge from her after what happened, and I think that's to come. I don't think, you know, Tiffany sits down quietly and just takes this until their match. I think in the next coming weeks we're gonna see a side of Tiffy that we're not used to seeing, and we're gonna really see what makes her a champion.
Definitely. And I just didn't like, yeah, I agree with you. I just didn't like the execution of that segment in particular. I think Nia Jackson, Candice LeRae also have to move on from Tiffany Stratton. We found out that Tiffany was going to be teaming up actually with Trish Stratus to take on the team of Nia Jackson, Candice LeRae at the Elimination Chamber this Saturday. So that should be a fun match. You know, should be a pretty quick one. Um, but Tiffany got has to focus on Charlotte now following this match. I hope this tag match puts this Nia Jax and Candice LeRae shit to rest. There's plenty of women on this main roster. I would love to see Tiffany face someone new. My goodness. I can't deal with this Nia Jax shit any fucking more. Because I and it sucks because I was singing her praises when she had returned. But man, as of recently, she's just been horrible on television. And her matches just suck. And I don't know what's going on. But anyways, I'm just tired of seeing Tiffany and Nia in these promo battles of the same shit every single time. Nia comes out, annoying voice, says, "You're not really the champion. You barely beat me. I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna get my championship back." And like, bro, we know you're not gonna get the shit back. Let's just move forward and move on, onwards and upwards. So hopefully this tag match between Tiffany and Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae puts that to the side, allows Tiffany to focus on the challenge ahead, which is of course Charlotte Flair. Um, this last week though, I did feel like Tiffany cut the best promo that she's had. She let Charlotte Flair know, like, look, I don't care about you. You think everyone's trying to be you? Nah, I'm trying to be me, and I'm gonna be better than you as I've been now, and I'm gonna prove it to you at WrestleMania, and I can't wait to whip your ass. But until then, I gotta go face these other two women. So I'm gonna see you till then. Um, and I'm excited. I hope I see that edge that we haven't seen per se on Tiffany Stratton. I hope she adds a little bit of more what's the word I'm looking for? I hope she just adds a little bit more flair to herself. Gets angry a little bit more, and we start to see a little bit more red in Tiffany Stratton. But I'm excited for this match. Hopefully they execute these promos between the two a little bit better. But we'll have to wait and see. It's all a build up. The road to WrestleMania, of course, isn't just one episode of SmackDown. It's a few a couple 2 months of work. So we have a long time until WrestleMania, and then we'll see what happens in the fallout from that tag match at Elimination Chamber as well. But something else that I'm looking forward to, a match and that I'm really excited about, and a feud that has been honestly keeping my attention last couple of months, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This is one that I cannot wait to see. They're both from Canada, and so this is going to be a it's going to be emotional. Sami Zayn always gets the Canadian crowd going like no one I've ever seen before. Um, Especially that last run when he had faced Roman. I think it was at the Elimination Chamber, was it not? For the championship, 2 years ago. Yeah, that shit was at the Elimination Chamber. Um, in Canada when they gave him the fucking they get bro. I remember this shit like it was yesterday because the SmackDown before the Elimination Chamber, they gave Sami Zayn like a fucking 9 minute standing ovation where they just cheered and clapped for him. He didn't even get a word in. They fucking 9 minutes of just cheers for Sami Zayn. I remember this shit, man. And so I'm excited. We're gonna get an emotional crowd. It's gonna be fun. But this feud between Sammy and Kevin has been fantastic. We got here with of course Kevin Owens delivering the Canadian Destroyer to Sami Zayn following his match against CM Punk in an Elimination Chamber qualifier that Sami had lost. Kevin Owens came out after the match was over, hit him with that Destroyer, sent him to the hospital in a neck brace, and about 2 weeks later, Sami Zayn showed back up on Raw, and he demanded to Adam Pearce. He said, "You know what, man? I don't care. I don't care that I'm hurt, but this shit that Kevin Owens just did, that shit was crazy." And listen, there's no better place. There's no better place for the ass whooping that I'm about to give Kevin Owens than our home country, Canada. And we're gonna be there on March 1st at the Elimination Chamber. So Adam, I'm gonna need you to give me my match. I don't care that I'm not cleared. I don't care that I'm hurt. I don't care, but I want my match. Um, and Sammy always knows how to get the people going. I didn't do him any justice. This was a fantastic promo. Sammy knows how to just cut up some onions in the room and really get you to fucking fall in love with his story. And whatever he's saying, he makes you believe. There, I'm gonna say something crazy, but take it into context. In terms of individuals who can get a crowd behind them, Sami Zayn is on a tier with a very few, and that tier includes John Cena. Like, I have not seen a crowd get behind a babyface the same way. Like, it's very similar to Daniel Bryan, very similar to John Cena. Like, at their peak, when they get a crowd behind them, Sami Zayn is there. In my opinion, I might be wilding out, but in my opinion, I think Sami Zayn is there. I'm not saying that he's as great as any of them in the ring. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying he's, you know, on the level of John Cena or a Daniel Bryan, but I'm saying, like, when it comes to the fanfare and that pop and the crowds cheering behind that superstar, Sammy is up there. Sammy is very, 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 very much up there. Um, and so he got the crowd behind him here. He told Adam Pearce, "Listen, man, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care if I go out there and I die. But if I die, I'm going to die knowing I'm trying to beat his ass because he just tried to end my career. And God knows what kind of man I would be if I didn't try to get him back for that." So he told Adam, "Listen, you do what you got to do, but you're going to give me this fucking match." And Adam Pearce said, "You know what? You know what? I'm not going to, this match isn't going to be official. It's going to be unsanctioned. And you could have that shit at Elimination Chamber. But I have nothing to do with this. The WWE is going to bear no responsibility in whatever happens to you, Sammy. But go ahead." And so they made it official. They made it unofficially official. We're getting an unsanctioned match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Now, what does that mean? That means it's a no disqualification match. That means there's only the only reason the ref is there is to give them the pin and to see if someone taps out. But he's not going to stop anything because it's unsanctioned. So whatever happens, happens. Someone could die and he technically wouldn't be able to stop the match. He didn't have to. So I'm excited for this match in and of itself. Um, Sammy and Kevin Owens have had fantastic video packages and vignettes together. There was one of Kevin Owens visiting the home of Sami Zayn while Sammy, his son, and his wife were in the living room having a discussion. Kevin Owens sneakily, took a video of them and then he panned the camera to himself. He said, "Listen, Sammy, you said you wanted to face me at Elimination Chamber because you want to you want to hit me with a move that may end my career. And that's taking food out of my family's mouth. What kind of friend are you?" Because Kevin feels right. Kevin feels like he's right in believing what he did was correct. He feels like Sami Zayn turned on him. And so all in all, it's been a fantastic couple weeks of promos. We're finally going to get this match here in Toronto, Canada. It's going to be emotional. I'm excited. Want to hear your thoughts on the buildup of this match here. Do you think that this match belongs on the Elimination Chamber card, or would you have saved it for WrestleMania 41 this year?
No, I think this is perfect. Like, Sammy said, what's the perfect place to have this match? It would be a pay per view as brutal as the Elimination Chamber, you know. And I think that you said it best. I think that it's hard not to get behind Sammy because I've said this before. I feel like we all see Sammy as like a genuine good guy. He's like the dad of the company, you know. He's always sharing photos with his kids or doing stuff with his family. He does no wrong. All he does in the company is try to make friends, and those friends backstab him. I think that's why it's so easy for us to get behind Sammy, and it's even easier when he's going up against someone like KO. Not only because KO is just a phenomenal heel, but because we've seen these two fight each other before, and we know that it's going to be a fucking certified clash. Like, it's going to be an amazing match between these two. Not only are these two actual best friends and they know how each other work, you know, almost in sync, but they worked those dates on the indies together. They know how to get brutal, and I think that's why Sami Zayn wanted this to maybe even be pushed to something like an unsanctioned match. Maybe that wasn't his idea. Maybe he wanted a hardcore, but once he heard unsanctioned, he said even better because now you guys can't tell us what we can and we can't do. So I'm excited for this. I'm always excited when these two come together and have a match together, just like Johnny Gargano and Champa. When these two finally feud, when their friendship breaks down, it's always a classic. So I am excited for this. I would keep it on the Elimination Chamber card just because if this doesn't end here, then we have another match that we can put on that WrestleMania card. And that being 2 days, I feel like we're going to need to start filling up these cards relatively soon because there's a lot of people that don't have storylines and there's a lot of matches that haven't been announced. And I feel like if we're on the road to WrestleMania, these changes need to be made. So if this starts at Elimination Chamber and carries on to WrestleMania, I would be perfectly fine with that. Personally, I wouldn't hold it until WrestleMania, but I would start at Elimination Chamber.
Okay. I can agree with that. I think this is a great spot to have it if it was going to be taking place at WrestleMania, and because it's not, then I think there's an added layer to this. I don't think Sammy is Kevin Owens' end game. I think the end game for KO at this point is going to be Randy Orton. I still think Randy Orton is going to make his return to television before WrestleMania. I don't see a world in which 41 doesn't include Randy Orton. Um, and I think that's going to be Randy and KO. If Randy makes an appearance this weekend, we'll see. Or is if this is the match that is the catalyst that brings Randy Orton back to say I've had enough of the terror that Kevin Owens has brought. It's time for me to return, and it's time for me to put an end to this reign that KO has had over the last couple months. So we'll see. I do think this is going to be great in Canada. I'm excited for it. But man, Sammy, I hope Sammy wins here because I fucks with Sammy. I think it'd be great for the fans. I think it'd be great for Sammy. But I won't be surprised if Kevin Owens wins here. But I would love for Sammy to win. If you had to pick a winner, or
Fuck.
whoever's going over, who would you bet is going to win this weekend's unsanctioned match between these two?
As you were giving your prediction, I was like, oh, I have some time to think about this, but I guess I don't. If I'm gonna have to pick one right now, I'm gonna say KO just because KO has been on a hot streak. He's been, you know, challenging everybody's mom left and right. So I would say let's not put KO down in this instance. I feel like Sammy can take this loss and be fine. I feel like if we give this
Mhm.
loss to Kevin Owens, then where do we leave him? You know, he's just gonna keep losing. It's another Drew McIntyre, another Ludwig, you know, situation where it's like how much can you make this person lose before I lose interest, you know? And I hope it doesn't come to that. So I hope that Kevin Owens wins this, but I wouldn't be mad if Sammy wins this either. So I'm gonna say my pick is KO, but we'll see.
That's a good pick. That's a logical pick as well because if the end game is going to be Randy and Kevin Owens, then KO has to win here. But fuck it, I'm gonna go with my heart. I'm gonna pick Sammy. Sammy, I'm gonna need you to haluva kick Kevin Owens in the corner or something. Hit him with a few blue thunder bombs. And take this home for the people of Canada. Sammy, go ahead and get us that win over there. I can't wait to see what you pull out. Pause. That was crazy. I can't wait to see your match. on Saturday against Kevin Owens. That's gonna be a fun one. Another fun, uh, f- I guess semi feud. We're getting some teases here that I want to hear your thoughts on. Recently AJ Styles has returned to Monday Night Raw. He returned to WWE television and decided that he's going to actually be moving from SmackDown to Raw. And he had his first match this last week against none other than Mr. Dominic Mysterio himself, one of the best heels in the industry at this moment in time. This was a very Dominic Mysterio type match. We gotta, chase him around a little bit, uh, get him down in the middle of the ring. When it's all said and done, AJ Styles is gonna win this match. There was no question. Hits Dirty Dom with a Styles clash, wins the match, but it's not what happened in the match that was interesting. It's what happened after. While AJ was celebrating his victory, the ref was raising his hand. We got a glimpse of Braun Breaker, who's had a few backstage interactions with AJ Styles and a few other superstars. Braun always likes to be intimidating, always likes to, stake his claim. This Monday Night Raw belongs to him, and he was going to let AJ Styles know that as well. So Braun sneakily walked into the ring while AJ was celebrating, and he was charging up his spear. But it's like AJ Styles had his fucking spidey senses, and when Braun was going to go for the spear, AJ actually got out of the way. Dominic was standing up at the same time, so Braun's spear connected with Dominic, and he was out of there. That brother was dead. AJ Styles then kicked Braun Breaker in the back of his head and sent him outside of the ring. Um, and Braun was visibly frustrated. And the funniest part of this interaction here was Braun taking off his shirt and he threw it into the ring to AJ Styles, and AJ like caught it so perfectly in his hand, looked at it, and he just chucked it away. It was hilarious. But we got that little interaction there, and we've already got the teases backstage between AJ and Braun. I want to hear your thoughts on a potential AJ versus Braun Breaker match. Is that something that you would like to see take place at a WrestleMania? Is AJ an opponent that you would like to see potentially take that title off of Braun? Just what are your overall thoughts on that situation there, and clearly a tease of a feud that the WWE is throwing at us to see if we like it or not.
This is another one I didn't see happening as soon as it is. And with that being said, the one thing that I did say when AJ returned was just please be safe. But it seems like AJ Styles doesn't give a fuck about our feelings because he's getting himself straight into a feud with one of the most lethal people in the company right now, with a Braun Breaker. If we're gonna get this now, I'm not mad at it just because we do know that with his body kind of wearing thin, we have AJ Styles on a proverbial clock. You know, we only have a certain amount of time with him, and a number of matches with him. And I feel like if this is the start of a rivalry between Breaker, where Breaker goes over, um, I'm fine with that. You know, I don't necessarily think that AJ Styles needs to win the belt off of him. I could see this maybe being like a 3 match series, maybe even ending at Mania, starting at Elimination Chamber, ending at Mania. Um, but these two are gonna knock it out of the park. You know, I just hope that AJ can stay safe through it all because we have seen what Breaker can do in the ring, and I would say that Breaker is a very safe worker. He's very talented in what he does, but you never know, you know. And we didn't see AJ getting hurt on his first return back last time he came, so I just hope that this doesn't end in an injury for him because if this is how he's starting, then I could only imagine how this fucking end tour is going to be for him. So if we're starting off with Breaker, that just means we're getting a number of great matches to come. So I'm excited for this. I would, like I said, I would hope that Breaker goes over on AJ. I don't necessarily think AJ needs to go over on Breaker for this. We need to start building up, the younger class with some of these bigger wins so that they could use them in promos, use them to, be able to challenge other people. And I think this is a big win for Breaker if he gets it.
I would agree. I would hope that Braun goes over here. I love AJ Styles, but you said it best. He doesn't necessarily need this win anymore. His career is set in stone. He's had a Hall of Fame career, and we're going to celebrate that as he winds down and as he's clearly stated that he wants to head into retirement sooner rather than later. But I think you're spot on. I think he's like now he realizes, I don't have too many years left, if any. So let me start hand picking, my next opponents. Let me start picking the best of the younger guys, the up and comers, people who are making names for themselves. Let me add some credibility to them. And I think Braun is a fantastic pick here. I thought when AJ moved to Raw, I personally thought that the match for AJ at WrestleMania would have been Logan Paul. That would have been sick for me. I think because both guys are like high flyers, they're super athletic. That would have been fun to watch. And I still think there's a chance that that happens. So we'll have to wait and see. I personally listen. You could do no wrong. Logan Paul versus AJ Styles versus Braun Breaker. Either one, as a fan, I'm winning. As a fan, it's gonna be a great match. As a fan, I'm gonna enjoy it. So whatever match we get, I'm happy with. If I had to pick one, if I had to pick one, because of the styles and the moves that I think I would see and the athleticism, I would pick Logan versus AJ. That's just me. That's just me. Um, but I could see how people would pick and prefer Braun Breaker versus AJ just for preference. I think I would like to see that match instead. But all in all, I think if this is the case, it would be a fun one. You said it. You said you would have Braun go over. So with Braun going over, do you think is Sheamus still the end goal here? Do you think Sheamus is the one to take that belt off of Braun Breaker ultimately, or do you think that that responsibility may lie on someone else?
No, I think that that's exactly where we're going, right? I've mentioned this plenty of times before. We need to start building up the repertoires of these superstars that are, up and coming. And I think a win over AJ Styles makes the loss versus Sheamus be bigger because this person just beat one of the biggest names in the company. So for Sheamus to come in later on down the road and beat him, I think that's great because not only did Braun have a good run, because this is a good run no matter how many times he's defended or not, this is still a good run for him. I think that him giving it to Sheamus later on down the road would just make it look that much greater for Sheamus. And that's what we want. We want Sheamus to get his flowers while he's still around before he retires. We don't know how much time we have with him. He's another one that's getting a little bit up there in age. He still looks great. He's still, doing his workout YouTube channel. So I could see Sheamus becoming that Grand Slam in the future. And what better way than to beating a very strong breaker, later on down the road.
Yeah, I think Sheamus is the one that's going to take that belt off of him eventually. So if that is the case, then maybe the AJ and Braun Breaker match takes place on a Raw prior to WrestleMania, and then somehow, some way, we get back to the agenda. But we'll see. I'm cool if it's AJ and Braun as well. There was something interesting that I wanted to bring up. So, following today's episode of Monday Night Raw on February 24th, Dominic, following him getting speared by Braun, he said, "Fuck all that. I'm gonna need a match against you because you can't just spear me on live television and expect to get away with it." So Dominic and Braun Breaker had a match tonight, but of course Dominic did not come alone. He brought Finn Balor and Carlito. The match resulted in a disqualification when Carlito and Finn Balor got involved. And they had Braun Breaker. Carlito and Dominic had Braun Breaker on the ropes. They were punching down on him, and it was a 2-on-1 while Finn Balor was grabbing a steel chair. And while Carlito and Dom were struggling with Braun, he broke out. He sent Dominic over the rope. He speared Carlito, and then right when he was going to turn around, Finn Balor was actually crawling into the ring with the chair, but Braun caught him, and him and Finn Balor had a stare down up until Finn Balor decided to sliver back outside of the ring and made the smart decision to, you know what? Braun clearly is a little angry. I just try to jump him. It didn't work out for me. He's clearly upset. Let me just slither my way out this ring. And, that was the situation that happened there. I love that tease. I listen. I'm getting. This is the fan of being. This is the problem of being a Finn Balor fan, because I'm like, oh shit, Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker. That would
Mm.
cook. I could get behind that. That would be fire. But it's just gonna result in Finn Balor losing, unfortunately. And if that's gonna be the fucking case, then let's just not do it at all. Let's just not do it at fucking all. Because the next feud that Finn Balor walks into, he better fucking win. He better fucking win. But thoughts on that little tease that we got there as well. That one wasn't as fleshed out as the AJ Styles teases, but I did like that they included it. How would you feel about a match against Braun Breaker versus Finn Balor? Shit, how would you be opposed to a triple threat? Would you be opposed to a triple threat
Ooh.
between Finn, AJ, and Braun? I would love that. I think a triple threat would be amazing between those three. And if that's the case, then shit, fuck it. If Finn got to take a pin, I guess Finn got to take a pin. But I think that'd be a great match.
Well, the problem here, I think, is that, like you said, or let's start here. I said this not even like 5 minutes ago. I feel like Finn Balor would be another great name to add to that repertoire of people that Braun has beat during his title reign. You know, add AJ, add Finn. But the problem with Finn is that he's grouped in with fucking Drew and Kevin and all these other people that just can't fucking get a win. So, do I want to see Finn versus Braun Breaker? Absolutely. But if it means that we get it soon, it means that Finn's gonna just eat another loss. And I don't like. I'm with you. As a Finn Balor fan, I don't know if I could take that again.
Oh, I can't take another Finn loss here. Um, I I need Demon Finn Balor back. Bring him back. Bring him back. But if you bring the demon back, you better win, Finn. You better win. But I would love a triple threat between these three here. And I do still think Sheamus is the one to take this belt off of Braun. I think that's the one that will get the most gratification from winning the belt, and him becoming a Grand Slam champion would be a great feat for him into what might be a Hall of Fame career. So that would be amazing for Sheamus. I hope it does happen. I do think he's the one at the end of the day. All in all, though, what's great about this is like how excited we are about potential Braun Breaker matches. This He's had such a hell of a run. We're over here fantasy booking these matches. AJ Styles, Finn Balor. We hope those happen, but just all in all, we have a career ahead of us. And Braun Breaker continues just to show out every time he steps into the ring. So, whoever he faces at WrestleMania is going to be a good one. Whoever he's facing over the next couple of weeks on Monday Night Raw, it's going to be fun as well. But I'm just a huge fan. The intensity he brings into every match, the way he runs the ropes. We haven't seen a superstar as intense as him in a very long time. And he fills a role that the WWE has always had of a beast of a superstar. So shout out to Braun Breaker. We'll see who his WrestleMania opponent is going to be for that Intercontinental Championship. Speaking of championships, how could we not discuss the World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther, and of course his soon to be WrestleMania opponent, Jey Uso? Over the course of the last couple of weeks, Gunther and Jey Uso have had a few exchanges of words, but most notably, the most recent funny one to me, at least, was Gunther walking through the crowd the same way Jey Uso does when he's making his entrance. But hilariously, of course, Gunther had a mic in his hand when he decided to do this on last week's episode. He walked out. He said, "Oh, I want to feel the way Jey Uso feels when he's walking through the crowd." Hilariously, he's telling fans that they stink, that it smells like shit as he's walking through the crowd, that these people don't deserve to be in his presence, and that they're lucky to even be in the same building as Gunther. Um, and so he's just, shitting on the whole entrance, the whole Jey Uso shenanigans. And he also just told the fans, you know what, man? I'm just going to tell y'all outright. It's cool and all that y'all like to cheer and wave your hands, that you believe in Jey Uso, but at WrestleMania, Jey Uso, he's not gonna have none of you. He's gonna be alone. I'm gonna beat his ass, and there's nothing you as the fans are gonna be able to do for Jey Uso. Um, and while he's doing this, of course, Jay's music has to hit. He has to run out. They have the little, they're back and forth trading blows, etc., etc. But that's been the primary feud that has been taking place between Jey Uso and Gunther over the last couple of weeks. Ever since Jay made the claim that he was going to be facing Gunther. Just what are your overall thoughts on the feud itself? What are you excited to see moving forward in this feud? Do you want to see some build-up matches here between Gunther and some opponents, or even with Jey Uso and some opponents? Just want to gather your thoughts on this as a whole.
I mean, I hope I don't piss off too many fans with this, but I'm a little bored with this one. There's not a lot of movement going on. We have, quips here and there. We had one this week on Raw with Gunther and Jay, kind of Jay saving Tozawa from Gunther and shit like that. But I feel like we need a little bit more of that. If you're not gonna have these two pitted against each other until Mania, then you need to have these matches where like Jay versus someone or Gunther versus someone and have them kind of interfere in it to start getting that hype up in that build. I would love to see a few more promos from these two as well leading up to the match in WrestleMania. Like I said, if we're not going to get our hands on, they're not going to get their hands on each other before then this is the kind of buildup that you need because right now not a lot is going on and I'm not really that invested in it. Uh, I'm sure. Look, I'm a J fan. I am a J fan. I just don't think this is the right moment for his moment per se. So I personally still want Gunther to go out there and just beat his ass and come back with the belt and just cut a promo saying, "I told you guys. I told you that it's just a nickname for him, and now you still have to deal with me." And then we get Gunther, facing all these other people that we want to see him face. On the other side, I can't see where Jay wins this. The crowd is going to go crazy. I'll probably go crazy if I'm being honest. The moment's going to be hype. But then where does that leave Gunther, we've built him to be this beast. Who does he go after? He hasn't really, pinpointed anyone out. Not that he needs to because he is the champ right now. So I'm kind of split on this one. I feel like the build up to this has been boring. A lot needs to happen before I get invested in time for WrestleMania. So I don't know, man. This one's a little hard to discuss just because, like I said, I'm a little biased. I want fucking Gunther to go out there and just beat the fuck out of Jay, but I know that that's
Beat
not
his
what's gonna
ass.
happen. I know that we're gonna get that big moment of his for WrestleMania, but I just want
Yeah.
WWE to do something and surprise me and be like, "Fuck it, we're gonna let Gunther keep it."
I would love that. I would absolutely love for Gunther to shit on those fans and just to break their hearts at WrestleMania again,
Huh?
similar to like when Roman beat Cody at 39. I
Or
think that
the
would be
streak being
great.
broken, you're gonna get that reaction.
All
People
right.
just
Let's
like
not. Yeah,
gapping mouths, like, "What the fuck? We thought Jay was gonna win." Like you're gonna get that reaction from
yeah.
the crowd. I'm not saying in the same
Yeah, I,
respect, but just like the reaction of the crowd
yeah.
will be
I
the
had
same.
to
Because a lot
for
of
sure,
people are going into this WrestleMania already saying Jay's gonna win the belt.
for sure,
So
a
why
hundred
not
percent. I
go
think
the
you're
other way?
exactly. I agree. I can get behind that. If the reason why Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble was to lose at WrestleMania, then I could fuck with it. But if the reason Jey Uso won at the Royal Rumble was to beat Gunther, then I can't fuck with it. But if Gunther wins, this shit would be sick. I would be happy again. The world would be right. Um, but no, I agree with you, man. I think this feud, it's just been a run-in. Every week, it's either Gunther's in the ring, cutting a promo, saying some shit about Jay, etc., etc., and it's the same thing. And then Jay comes out, he runs in, then he goes backstage, he tells someone, "Oh, they still don't believe in me. Well, they're gonna believe in me in 3 weeks when I beat him at WrestleMania." And so it's the same shit every Monday. And this week it was different. Today, as you mentioned, Gunther had a squash match against Tozawa. It was actually a pretty funny match. And Gunther would put Tozawa on the sleeper hold. And the match was over, Then he went back and he put him in another sleeper hold until Otis came out to help him out. Gunther pushed Otis's face twice. Otis was about to retaliate, but Gunther hilariously ran out of the ring. Otis turned his back to go help his friend Tozawa, who was asleep due to Gunther's sleeper hold. Gunther snuck back into the ring and put the sleeper hold on Otis himself. And as Otis was going to sleep, Jey Uso's music hits, and they had to run it again. So it's the same shit every week over the last 3 to 4 weeks here with this feud. And you're right. How many times can Jay say the same thing? Like, you guys don't believe in me? Yes, we don't, because you've given us reasons to not. Especially last year's WrestleMania. Like, the entrance has been fun and all. I get it. The fans, like, the casuals, love them. I get the
The
entrance. It's hype.
casuals.
I get it. I get the entrance. It's hype. Um, but like, let's be fucking serious for a second, people. Like, Gunther had a 300 or no, I'm being disrespectful. The motherfucker had a 600 plus day reign as an intercontinental champion. I think it was 666 if I'm not mistaken, and he loses it to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, and or that was last year's WrestleMania. And that was a phenomenal moment. And then we saw what happened with the Intercontinental title after the fact. Sammy carried it for a little bit, but it lost the aura or the prestige that Gunther had brought with it. And he hasn't been able to find that same aura with the World Heavyweight Championship reign. He hasn't been able to hit that same stride as he did with the Intercontinental Championship. But how could he when he has to fucking face Jey Uso 3 times, two of which he's already beat, and now he's gonna have to face him again. And listen, man, if Jey Uso is the motherfucker to beat Gunther, I'm gonna be pissed because Chad fucking Gable, to this day, he should have been the one to do it, and he should be the one to do it. If there's anyone that's gonna fucking do it, it's gonna be Chad, because they had a story there, and that was a fantastic one. And to have Jay go over fucking Gunther when Chad couldn't, give me a break. Give me a fucking break. Now I'm getting upset thinking about this shit, and because of that, I'm gonna move forward. I hope this feud gets better. I hope we get some matches, Jey Uso, some build up matches. Get them right, because if we don't get a good match out of him at WrestleMania 41, Triple H is gonna have to answer some fucking questions. So put him in the ring and get some shots up, as the kids like to say. Get some practice in. Gunther, you keep doing what you're doing, brother, because you're amazing. But all in all, I'm disappointed in the build up so far, but I was disappointed in the decision once it was made. So I was biased, and I'm going to be biased as we continue on this road to WrestleMania. But best of luck with that, Gunther. We'll see how you deal moving forward. But continuing our conversation surrounding champions, I want to bring up the women's intercontinental champion, Miss Lyra Valkyria, who had a phenomenal match tonight against Dakota Kai on the February 24th episode of Monday Night Raw. It was a great fucking match for the Intercontinental Championship. I think you guys should tune in if you have an opportunity to watch it. But want to talk about Lyra and, of course, Chelsea Green, our United States Women's Champion as well. Both of our champions, our mid-card champions, had Elimination Chamber qualifying matches. Lyra Valkyria had hers against Bailey, and Chelsea Green had hers against Naomi. Both women lost cleanly to their respective opponents here. So Bailey moved forward, and so did Naomi to the Elimination Chamber. I just want to hear your thoughts on that decision, on the two champions, their champions, losing cleanly in qualifying matches to the Chamber, and just the overall treatment of those two championships so far, and the attention they've gotten since they won the belts themselves. Just what are your thoughts on the two losses there, and just that second question as well?
So on the two losses, I'm perfectly fine with that because I think I've made this clear before. I hate when they give already established champs an opportunity at these kind of things because you already have a belt. You know, like we in a sense already know that you're not going to win this belt. You're not going to win the chance of going after one of these belts. So like, why even have these people in it? In this retrospect, you know, like the champion went up for a chance and they lost, and I'm fine with that because you shouldn't be in the chamber if you have a belt. Anyways, just like when I think it was the tag champs, they were in the fucking rumble. Like, why? You have a belt. Stop being greedy. So I'm okay with them losing, but this also presents the question of do those two people that beat them, if they do not win their chamber match, do they get chances at those belts because they won clean? There was no fuckery around it. So do they, you know, and inevitably when they lose their chamber matches, will they go after the champions that they beat? I would say that they have a fair shot at having, you know, the ability to challenge one of those champions. So for them, it's a good thing. For us, it's a good thing because we don't have a dead spot like a champion taking up in the elimination chamber. I will say that over time, I know that when we first talked about it on the pod, I wasn't like a huge fan of Lyra Valkyria, but I have come around, and sometimes it takes just that little bit of extra, maybe not even something to do with wrestling, to make at least me a fan. And I even sent it to you. She had a phenomenal episode on Sheamus's workout YouTube, and that kind of made me a fan. And not only that, but just her in-ring presence. I feel like she has carried that belt well. My only problem with her is that she hasn't defended as much as I would like, but that's not necessarily up to her, or you know, it's up to the production on where it would fit. And with how stacked the shows have been recently, there hasn't really been, you know, anywhere to put her. So I would like to see her, you know, defend that belt more. She's a phenomenal wrestler. I've come to appreciate her style of wrestling and what she can do in the ring. And so following Elimination Chamber, I just want to see her defend that belt more. As for Dakota Kai, I didn't think that she was going to win this. I made it pretty clear. I feel like she's too injury prone to be putting a belt on her. If you want to put something like tag belts, I understand that because we have now made it normal for other people within a faction to step in and defend those belts for one another. So I could see her holding something like a tag belt, but I wouldn't want a singles belt on her just for the simple fact that even if she is that phenomenal wrestler, she really has spent most of her career hurt or on the sidelines. So why should we give her that kind of opportunity now? You know, at the end of the day, at the end, I'm sorry. I know it sounds mean. It sounds fucked up.
That's
But
mad ableist, yo.
but I mean, come on, bro. You've been out of work for so long because of your fucking
Nah, I
injuries, and
feel
when
it.
you
I
fucking
get it.
and when you are here, you're, you know, a translator piece for the two Asian girls of your faction.
Yo.
I'm sorry, it's true. So I don't see her as championship material.
Nah, that's
It's a,
fair. The way you
it's the sad reality of the situation. But I have come to appreciate Lyra Valkyria, so I expect big things from her in the future.
Now, when you break it down like that, I can understand why Dakota Kai is not champion material. But I will say she put on a great match with Lyra Valkyria on this episode of Raw. I think this was her best match with Lyra. They've had 3 matches.
Mm-hmm.
This one easily, by far, was the best one. And I, when when this match started, I thought Dakota Kai definitely had a chance. Like, you're not giving her a third shot and not thinking about giving her the fucking title. So I thought she had a shot, but unfortunately for her, Lyra did remain champion. And we are getting a bit of a story here, because after that match concluded, Ivy Nile did attack both Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria while Lyra was celebrating, staking her claim that she's going to be the next #1 contender for this belt. So I'm looking forward to that match. Ivy Nile has had a little bit more of a presence on television as of recently. She's done really well with the TV time that she's getting. So I'm excited for this match. This should be fun. Lyra puts on a great match with anyone she gets in the ring with. So I'm excited to see both of these women go at it. And I think Ivy could very easily become the next Intercontinental Champion if Lyra isn't careful here. So I'm looking forward to that. In terms of the women, both women, Chelsea Green and Lyra, losing their qualifying match, I would disagree with you. why even have them in the matches? You said it best. Listen, they're already champions. Like, don't be greedy. Just go chill somewhere, or go, go defend those titles. Go do that. But don't
Mm-hmm.
be greedy. I can agree with that. But what I don't agree with is, then if you're gonna include them, like, don't include them at all if you're not, if they're champions. Don't include them at all if your plan is to have them lose. Then just don't include them, because then you're just making your mid card champion look weak and the championship itself look weak. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Um, so don't even include them in the tournament, because you could have very easily. I don't know if Zelina Vega had a qualifying match, but you could have replaced Chelsea Green with Zelina Vega. You could have easily replaced Lyra Valkyria with Kairi Sane. Just anyone else. But if you're gonna have them lose, like, why even waste the loss on a champion? They're both champions, and they were clean losses. So that's my only contention with that. Just don't even include them in the match if that's the plan. All in all, Bailey and Naomi move forward. They are superstars amongst themselves, and so they were going to get that spot. And I'm looking forward to that women's elimination chamber match. Chelsea Green has a surprise opponent this upcoming Friday night SmackDown. She is also from Canada. So this last week she went up to Nick Aldis. She said, "Nick, how are we going to have a pay-per-view and you're not even going to include the Queen of Canada, me, in the pay-per-view itself? What kind of shit is that?" And so Nick said, "You know what, Chelsea? I'm tired of your shit. And you know what? I am going to invite you to Canada for a match. And it's going to be against a surprise opponent. And I'm not going to tell you who it's going to be against, but it's going to be a surprise. And it's going to be not on Saturday, but on Friday Night SmackDown." And that's how that little segment went there. So Chelsea's gonna have an opponent herself for her United States belt. I'm curious to see who that's gonna be. I know I'm dropping this bomb on you right now, but would you have any guesses as to who it could possibly be that Chelsea Green would be facing?
Fuck, not even the slightest. I'm trying to think right now, like who can be returning, or who's new to the company that we can put up against. My initial
Yeah, Lash
different.
Legend was my first thought for you. I know that's
Oh,
your girl. I don't
that
I don't
is
know if
true.
that was the first thought.
That is true. I have said before, we're getting some of these call ups, and we've seen one recently. Well, I'm gonna guess that we've seen one recently with the Roxanne stuff, but Lash Legend would be a great one to do. If you really wanted to bring some hype down to NXT, they just got Jordan Grace. I feel like Jordan Grace would be kind of like a cool pop,
Mm,
just to like showcase that TNA NXT type, relationship that they have.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I can't really pinpoint anyone. The only other person that I could think of is maybe someone like an Oscar that we haven't seen in a while. But no, I can't. What are your thoughts? Do you
Ooh.
have anyone in mind?
That was crazy. I like that one. I like that Oscar pick. Sneakily, that was a great one. If she comes back on this episode of Smack, you just got me excited. Ooh, I like that pick. I like that pick. I love your Jordan Grace pick. I think she's gonna be focused on NXT, but if they switch the shit up and they say, you know what, fuck it, send Jordan Grace to beat Chelsea, I think that'd be funny. Um, and I think it'd be fucked up for Chelsea, but I think I think it would fare well for the Chelsea Green character for her to
Hmm.
lose in Toronto, the United States belt, of course, to lose in Canada and lose it to Jordan Grace. I think, dude. I think you might have had a Nostradamus moment. I think I would not be surprised if Friday Night SmackDown. I have the meme. I'm the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where I point at the TV and I'm like, "Oh shit!"
There it is.
That's what you're talking about. There it is. So I think that we're gonna have that happen. So we heard that here first. Great pick. We'll have to wait and see. I don't have any opponents that I came off the top of my head. It was just Lash Legend for me because she was the closest one that's like had some presence on WWE television. She had a little bit of a run herself on at the Royal Rumble, and I think even her and Chelsea Green had a bit of an interaction in the match. So if Lash Legend gets called up here and she has a chance at the U.S. belt, I think that would be a good match and it would be fun as well for Lash, and that'd be a great moment for her. But no, we'll see. I love your Jordan Grace pick though, and if it's Oscar, even better. But can't go wrong with either of those two women there. Speaking of United States championships, I would be remiss if I did not bring up Shinsuke Nakamura and LA Knight. We found out that actually as well, not only will the Women's United States Championship be on the line this Friday, but also Shinsuke's U.S. title will also be up for grabs in a match against LA Knight. LA Knight here for the last couple of weeks has worked towards a rematch here with Shinsuke. He has his heart set on gold again. And he's finally getting that wish granted. Do you think LA Knight reclaims his glory here? Do you think he's going to reclaim the throne of the United States Championship? Or is Shinsuke going to walk out again and still our U.S. champion?
I think there's a good chance that LA Knight can win here just because Elimination Chamber is kind of already set, right? We already have the matches. Two of those matches are going to take a good chunk of the pay per view out. So it only leaves us with like a select amount of time that we could put other matches on. And we're already wasting one of those slots with having fucking The Rock and Cody do their thing. So I would say that if you really wanted to build up that hype leading into the Saturday pay per view, then you can have these matches that you would typically see on a pay per view on that Friday night just to get that crowd hyped. So I think that there's a good chance that LA Knight wins it here. I think that's why we're having not one but two title matches on this SmackDown, is just because we don't have the time to put it on the card. But these are still great matches that where something unexpected could happen. So I think it's perfect that they put it on SmackDown. That gives us a reason to watch SmackDown, especially going into the pay per view. Just because, like we said, it's been kind of slow these past couple of weeks. There hasn't been much going on, and that's disappointing because like we've mentioned, it's the road to WrestleMania. This is when we typically start getting hyped and we start seeing where everyone's gonna land. So I really want that to progress post Elimination Chamber. And if LA Knight winning this here, leading into a feud to continue the feud and going over into WrestleMania, I think that's perfectly fine. It gives these guys something to do. And like I said, we need to start filling up that card because it's two nights and we have little to nothing to show for it so far. So I do think that there's a good chance. I'm gonna say personally, out of my own bias, I think LA Knight wins it here. I think he's done what I've predicted. He's been down and out. He's been here and there, kind of trying to find himself, and now he thinks that he's ready for his rematch against Shin. And I think that this is where he wins it, and this feud carries on to WrestleMania.
I hope LA Knight wins it here again. And he carries it for another reign. Not a long one per se. I think if it's a solid month, 2 month reign, that'd be great. But I would love for him to regain his glory here, take it off for Shinsuke. I just thought LA Knight did a fantastic job of defending the belt. And making it prominent on SmackDown television. I feel like when he was the champion, I saw him and I saw that belt every time I watched an episode of Friday Night SmackDown. And since he's lost it, I feel like I've only seen Shinsuke like maybe 2 or 3 times, and he's been champion for, I would say, for 40 plus 50 plus days. Um, and so I miss the prominence that LA Knight brought to that belt and the airtime that it had, because that's how the champions should be. And he had a great run and he defended it against different opponents. So I would love for LA Knight to get it back. And if he continues moving forward with the similar reign to what he was having before, that would be great. And then we can move it on to like Carmelo Hayes. We can move it on to Andrade. But I do think one of those two individuals themselves deserved to take the belt off a night when he had it. And I think if it's not LA Knight, then I would love Andrade or Carmelo Hayes to take the belt off of Shinsuke at some point. Hopefully at WrestleMania 41, but no later than that. There, if that's the case, if that's the way that they decide to go. But all in all, hopefully this Friday we're recrowning LA Knight as our United States champion. So with you picking LA Knight, I'm gonna have to double down there. I guess we will double down on that bet there. We'll have to wait and see on the next episode of the podcast. But speaking of Carmelo Hayes, he's finally hit his stride over the last couple of weeks. He's had a few matches against the likes of Tozawa, R-Truth, and this week he had a tag match that he was forced to have with The Miz, and they actually formed a new team, hilariously called Mellow Don't Miz. Uh, what are your thoughts on Carmelo Hayes finally getting some traction here? Are you excited for Carmelo? Where do you think he falls into, the U.S. title picture or the WrestleMania plans? Do you think he has a match? And how are you feeling about Melo Don't Miz?
Well, on Melodome the whole situation was kind of hilarious, and I kind of love the name because it is a play on Mellow Don't Miss. So I do appreciate that, but like you said, he hit his stride. But what are we doing with him, bro? I feel like, sure, you mentioned he faced Cesaro and he faced this person, but this was a man that when he got called up, he instantly faced Cody Rhodes. Then he went into a banger of a series against Andrade, and even had some phenomenal matches against LA Knight. For someone that was so hot, what are we doing putting him in a tag match with Miz? If this was just like a fun one off and you were just making the joke, cool. But knowing WWE, this might not just be a one off. And that means we're just going to get this kooky partnership that we've seen already from Miz and our truth, but now with Mello. So I don't necessarily know if that's what I want for Mello. I want to see him go after maybe a mid card belt, if not a bigger belt. I feel like this kid had so much potential. He still has so much potential. And it's kind of just being wasted. And maybe that's just because they don't have something for him to do right now. But with so much talent there, how can you not have something for the kid to do? So I really do want to see, Mello come into stride. You said, how does he fit into the US picture? I love Shinsuke. No offense to Shinsuke, but I would have been a lot happier if this rematch was maybe LA Knight versus an Andrade or an LA Knight versus a Mello, based off who would preferably win that last game 7 that we never really got to finish to. That's kind of where I wanted this to go down the road. But then Shinsuke came back and interjected himself, and now we have the Shinsuke versus LA Knight, which I'm not mad at. I love both of them. They're both going to knock it out of the park. But this is definitely one of those spots where I could have seen an Andrade or a Mello kind of fill in that position because they have been killing it all year. And I'm sad that it's not one of them. I'm sure I'll still love the match between these two on Friday. And you said it. We're both cheering LA Knight. We both want to see our boy with gold. I think it was Wade Barrett that said it. There's something just not right about seeing LA Knight without gold. So I hope that this Friday we do crown him. And if he decides to carry on the feud and finish it at WrestleMania, I think that it is right that they have that game 7 finally between Andrade and Mello, and we finally get that actual championship match between one of the two versus LA Knight.
You are 100% correct in the fact that we never got a conclusion to that fucking 7th game between Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. That's unfortunate shit right there. Because, see, that's exactly the fucking problem. We had that series that carried SmackDown for the majority of 2 months. And they didn't get rewarded for that. Neither of them did. Like in anything. Nothing. Nope. That motherfucker's not even in the Elimination Chamber. Either of them.
I haven't seen Andrade for weeks.
Yeah, bro, that's crazy. That's insane because they had a fantastic show in there. No, yeah, we're gonna have what happened. SmackDown was
popping.
It was popping when that was happening, and then all of a sudden, like there was just a switch. You know what happened? Road. No, not only that, but there is a new lead rider on SmackDown, and that is Road Dogg of D-Generation X. He's now the lead writer on SmackDown, and I've seen the discourse. I feel like a lot of fans are a little upset about the way that the show's been booked as of recently, so maybe that's playing a factor into this, but I feel like Triple H is giving the stamp of approval on everything. So at the end of the day, you got to raise your eyebrow at the man in charge. And so I just hope they clean this shit up as we're heading into like we only have a few more weeks into WrestleMania and Elimination Chambers this weekend. You said it best. Like there's not like it's okay not to have matches fleshed out and announced, but to not have like prominent stories with not too many like mid carders outside of your Sami Zayn's, your CM Punks of the world. It's a little glaring. I was hoping for a little bit more on the SmackDown front. I think Raw has done a fantastic job so far, but SmackDown is lacking a little bit. But hopefully they pick steam up after the Elimination Chamber. But speaking of the Elimination Chamber, I want to get into predictions. I want to get into some questions as we head into this weekend's pay per view. Of course, the first one here, the men's Elimination Chamber, which I am most excited about. The superstars featured in this one are Logan Paul, Damian Priest, CM Punk, The Goats, John Cena, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre. This is a very solid, very stacked Elimination Chamber. There's one person in this Elimination Chamber roster that does not belong with the rest of them. There's one sore thumb here. I'm gonna ask you, who do you think I'm talking about? Who would you say is the sore thumb out of these six men scheduled to compete in this year's Elimination Chamber?
I'm gonna answer that, and that's also the answer for your first question of who's getting eliminated first. And that sore thumb, that person that needs to fucking be eliminated first, is none other than the Puerto Rican Damian Priest.
I'm glad you agree. I'm glad you agree. Listen, get him out of there. Who's gonna eliminate him? If I'm picking someone, give me Logan Paul.
Mm-hmm.
State the claim. State the claim. Logan, wear some Puerto Rican inspired gear. Let Damian Priest know that I'm the better one. This is my U.S. territory.
Not even that.
I
Isn't
would.
he like Cuban now because he's like resides in Cuba? Wear some Cuba gear to like go against this Puerto Rican.
I don't know, but I know he has some affiliation to Puerto Rico, so I would absolutely love that. But in all seriousness though, this is a stacked roster here. Superstars out the wazoo, especially with the core four. I'll call it the core four. CM Punk, John Cena, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. Damian Priest, superstar of his own. Logan Paul, superstar of his own. I think this is Logan's second chamber. I know he was in it last year, if I am not mistaken. I think this is his second one. He had a great outing last year. Yes, because he had punched Randy Orton with the knuckles. I remember that. Yes. So he did a great job last year. This is a great spot for him again. Damian Priest, as much as I don't like the gimmick, I respect the matches and what he does in the ring. I think he's going to do a great job here as well. We know what we're going to get out of CM Punk, out of Cena, out of Seth, out of Drew. Before we even get into the eliminations, I want to ask you, what are just some interactions that you're looking forward to, that you're hoping for? What are some things you want to see from this match itself?
I mean, based off tonight's Monday Night Raw, of course, Logan Paul versus CM Punk. That's gonna be, a face off that I want to see go down. CM Punk versus John Cena. I feel like CM Punk has teased that. He said, there's one person that I'm finally going to get to see, face to face in that elimination chamber. So I think CM Punk Cena is another one. Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. I feel like they have a lot of history together, and their storylines are intertwined in a sense. So I feel like an interaction, maybe even a team up between them two, would be something great. Overall, I would say just the showcase of Logan Paul. He's back now. He says that he technically is full time now. So I want to see it. I want to see him go out there. I want to see what he's learned while he's been away. I want to see if he's been putting in the work, and I want to see him just show out during this match.
I think this is going to be a great spot for Logan Paul. He is yet to disappoint. And his match against Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship earlier this year was fantastic. His Royal Rumble match was his outing was solid. His best match to me this year has been against LA Knights at SummerSlam. That was a phenomenal match. And I think you're right. I think he's going to have another great outing here. In terms of interactions that I want to see, CM Punk getting jumped by both Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins would be a great sight to see. I would love that. I think it would be hilarious for those two to team up to go up against Punk just this one time. That would be great. John Cena, one interaction that I don't want to see, that I'm nervous to see, is an interaction between John Cena and Logan Paul, because there's some speculation that the WrestleMania card, the way it's being filled, is we're gonna get a match between Cena and Paul. That makes me nervous because I of course want Cena to be in the main event title picture. I want him to win the Elimination Chamber. Um,
Wow.
but that just makes me nervous. We'll see about that. I do want the CM Punk Cena interaction. We kind of sort of got it at Royal Rumble, but not enough. It was a quadruple interaction. That was Roman, Seth, Cena, and Punk. So I would love to see them two have a moment. Would love to see McIntyre and Logan Paul go at it for a little bit as well. I think that'd be interesting. But all in all, it's going to be a fun match here. Hard hitting. I'm excited for Cena's outing. I'm excited for Cena's outing. I'm looking forward to it, especially because of the last time we saw him at that press conference, at the Royal Rumble press conference, when he just cut the bullshit, when he said, you know what, man, I decided that I am what's best for business. Me winning is what's best for business. Like if we're getting serious, Cena back, sign me up. Sign me the fuck up. Let's go. I'm with you, Cena. Let's go. Um, but I'm just excited for it. In terms of some eliminations, who do you think is going to be the first out of these six men to get eliminated?
I'm gonna stick to it. I think Damian Priest needs to be the first one eliminated just because he doesn't make sense in this match. I understand that the company sees him as a big guy that can compete with these guys, and he sure can. But in this retrospect and the storyline that we're carrying out, like you said, he sticks out like a sore thumb. So there's no reason for him to even be in this match. So I think that Damian Priest needs to be the first one eliminated.
You wouldn't even have Logan Paul get eliminated first. It's not even a question for you.
No, no, because I think the two people that I have in mind for being the ones to win this are Logan Paul and CM Punk, and I'll explain in a bit. But those are the two people that I think are going to
Oh,
win. So I think Damian Priest has to be the first one to drop out.
that is interesting. Okay. All right, I can get jiggy with that. Totally fair. If Damian Priest is, listen, man, I'm not gonna be the one to defend him. If he's the first one to get the fuck up out of there, I wouldn't be mad at it. I would not be
Boy, you
mad
would be
at it here.
cheering.
No, I would definitely be clapping. I'm shit. Get him out of there. Um, okay, I can fuck with that. All right. And then in terms of, maybe last three guys in the chamber. Who would be your final three standing tall here? Once a few men are already eliminated, who do you see as the final contestants up?
I think my last three, and again, I'll explain when I get into my explanation for who I want to win and why. I think my last three have to be Logan Paul, CM Punk, and John Cena.
Okay. Logan Paul, CM Punk, and John Cena. Okay. And then in terms of, the big question, I want to throw a wrench here. Who do you want to win, and who do you think is going to win this year's Elimination Chamber?
So, who do I think is going to win? My brain is saying that this is how we finally get to CM Punk Cody at Mania. So, my brain is saying CM Punk will win this. That's why he's one of my last three. But me as a wrestling fan, I think I would want to see Logan Paul eliminate John Cena for two reasons. One, I said this a couple episodes back. I think Logan Paul's gonna have a phenomenal year this year. I think he's really gonna come into his own. We're gonna see him in the ring the way we've never seen him before. I do think he's been putting in the work. That's why I'm excited to see how he performs at the Chamber. So I think this will be the stepping stone for him to have his big year, or at least the wrestling fan in me wants this to be his year, and this for to be the start. But my brain does tell me that this is how we get what they wanted to do potentially last year with CM Punk being in the main event, and I don't really see another way right now for him to get into that picture. So if they really do want to go with that, I think that this is how we get to it. I think CM Punk wins the Elimination Chamber, but the wrestling fan in me really does want Logan Paul to win, not only so that he could have the moniker of denying John Cena that second chance at a main event at WrestleMania, but it also fuels my theory of I think John Cena is going to win a prize down the road that gets him to that 17 championship. I don't necessarily think it needs to be at Mania. I think that the again, broken record. The chase is always better with John, and I think that's where we're going.
I
So
agree.
so I those are the two picks. I feel like if I'm gonna have to just pick one, I'm gonna say CM Punk just because I think that that's what they want to do. They want to get to CM Punk versus Cody somehow, and this is how they do it. On that, I want to know what are your final three. Who do you think eliminates who to become the final two, and then who wins it all?
Mm, this is tough. This is really tough. I think my final three: CM Punk, John Cena, and I think it's Drew McIntyre. I think those are my final three. I think in terms of who's winning this match, who I think is winning this match, I'm gonna agree with you. I think CM Punk is going to be the winner of this year's Elimination Chamber. I think it's finally fucking time for him at least to get his main event. I think it's time. I think they've decided, and he's healthy. God forbid, knock on wood if there's wood near you. Knock on wood. If he's healthy, and he makes it out this chamber alive in one piece, I think he's gonna get that main event at WrestleMania. And Cody versus CM Punk, whatever the direction they would go in, I'm gonna enjoy it. That's gonna be a fun feud. That's gonna be a fun build up. They cannot go wrong with that. So I'm not gonna be mad at it at all. In terms of who I want to win, I want to see because it's gonna be against Cody. I don't want to see John. I don't want to see John against Cody. Um, I guess my want would be Drew McIntyre. My want would be a toss up between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. I think Drew versus Cody Rhodes. People are sleeping on the main event that could be at WrestleMania. I think that would be a fucking great match. Not only a great match, I think that'd be a great build up as well for both men. Um, and I would love if Drew McIntyre were the one to dethrone Cody. I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it with CM Punk either. But the motherfucker's just about 50. So I would pick Drew before Punk. That's just me. That's just me. Uh, but I do think CM Punk is going to win here. I do think he's going to be the one to face Cody Rhodes. How he gets there, I'm not sure. Will he be working in tandem with The Rock? I am not sure. But we're going to have to wait and see. I do think, though, when it's all said and done and the 2025 Elimination Chamber is over, I think CM Punk is going to be the victor here. And I think he's going to go on to WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas to face Cody Rhodes for the championship. I'm excited for this match. I hear you with John Cena. If this is why I'm upset about Jey Uso winning, because it's short in the stick and it didn't allow all the possibilities to flesh out in terms of the main event title pictures with both the World Heavyweight Championships and the WWE Championship, because you knew as soon as Jay won that Royal Rumble, you knew who he was going to pick. Like, we didn't have to waste any time. Jay, really, they did it for show, but we didn't have to really waste any time on us as fans trying to figure out who he was gonna pick. We knew the end goal was gonna be Gunther for Jay, and that handcuffed Cody Rhodes' opponents for WrestleMania. It could only had been a handful, not even a handful, only a select few after Jay won the Royal Rumble. Because if John would have won it, then believable conflict. Who would he had selected? He still would have picked Gunther, but that's a different story for a different day in a different universe. All in all, CM Punk, I think, in my opinion, is going to win this year. John Cena, if he gets eliminated by Logan Paul and Logan gets that moniker of being the one who stops Cena from main eventing his final WrestleMania, I think that could end up being the match for both of those men at Mania. We've seen John Cena put Austin Theory over. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts over Logan Paul. And as a Cena fan, that's not what I want. I want him in the main event picture. I want him in the main event WrestleMania picture, and I don't even want him to win. I've been saying this, and I'm gonna keep saying this. I think the motherfucker should lose up until his very last night in the WWE, and I think that's when he wins it. I don't care if he got to drop the belt the next day. I don't care. There's one person that could do it, is him, and I think that chase, that anxiety, would be the best chase that has ever been written on wrestling television. But that's a story for another day. Um, all in all, excited for this year's Elimination Chamber. Do you think we get any surprises here? Any outside shenanigans to take place? We've seen in many years past, some people pop out of under the ring to cost someone else their opportunity. We've seen Logan Paul even at last year's WrestleMania, him knocking out Randy Orton when he was about to win the match with his brass knuckles. So we've seen some shenanigans take place here. But do you think this match in particular will have any, or are there any surprises that you're looking forward to or hoping to see?
It's a little harder with the Elimination Chamber matches just because they are a little bit more confined. But you are right. We have seen shenanigans happen before. We've seen people rushing when the gates open and stuff like that. And the only real thing that I could think of, and this is honestly such a fucking long shot, but I mean Roman's been pretty quiet recently. We haven't really seen him around, and we do know that Paul owes CM Punk a favor, and we also know that Roman owes Seth a lick back. So we can potentially see a build between, Roman coming in to do something or costing Seth the match, and maybe that leading to a WrestleMania match between them two. We don't know because, like I said, a lot of these guys are kind of in limbo. We don't know what they're going to be in WrestleMania, but you would assume that they're going to do something in WrestleMania. So that's really like the only shenanigans that I could think can happen during this match. But I don't know. It's a WWE. Maybe nothing happens. Maybe something does happen. Is there anything that you think may take place during the Elimination Chamber?
I just think this is where we find out who The Rock is selecting to just screw Cody Rhodes for the rest of the year.
Oh.
I think The Rock is gonna take a is gonna is going. He's not gonna enter the Royal Rumble. I think he's gonna come out, rock bottom somebody, and get that person to win or assist in a win here. And I think that person is gonna be CM Punk. But that's just me. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that's the only shenanigan that makes sense because the only other thing would have been Randy, but Randy is going to return during the Sammy and Kevin Owens
Mhm.
match or after. And he has no stake in the Elimination Chamber match itself, just the pay-per-view. But that's the only shenanigan. So I think The Rock here plays a factor. Because ultimately, whoever wins this match is gonna face Cody. Like that's who's gonna face Cody. So I think The Rock plays a factor in that, and the way he does it, I'm not sure how, but I do think he will have a role in this Elimination Chamber. I'm gonna be looking to see what the match order is. If that Elimination Chamber for the men's side is the final match and the Rock and Cody segment is early in the night, then I'm definitely going to be of the belief that the Rock's going to play a role. But time will tell. Time will tell, and time will pass. But sticking on the topic of the Elimination Chamber, uh, cannot not discuss the women's chamber, with the six contestants there being Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Naomi, Bianca Belair, Roxanne Perez, and Bailey. This is another fun Elimination Chamber roster here that I'm excited to see. Is there anyone in particular from this list that you are excited to see in this year's chamber?
I mean, the return of Alexa Bliss, I think, is a good one. I want to see how she does in a high stress situation like an elimination chamber. I want to see how kind of ring ready she is, you know. So I'm excited to see that. But I think the big news here is our girl Roxy. You know, we kind of mentioned this a couple weeks ago where we think that her call up should be, or I think at least, I'll speak for myself on this one. I think her call up should be something a la fucking Paige, you know, where like she gets this big opportunity and she just pulls it off. And her being in the chamber is something that I definitely did not expect. It was a welcome surprise though, because I've said this before, she's someone that has done everything she can on NXT. There's really nothing left down there for her to do besides facing some of the newer talent that just came in. But they're talent that they need to build up for the future of NXT. So there's no real reason to keep Roxy down there and, you know, keep beating them or anything like that. So her call up here is exciting. Her being in the chamber, I'm pretty sure will be her first chamber. Uh, this is exciting not only for her but for the fans. Again, another situation where we're going to get to see how she does in such a high stress environment like an elimination chamber. You know, sure, she's had plenty of stellar matches down in NXT, but now this is the big time. You know, you're getting invited to participate in these bigger style matches. So now is the time to show us why you were called up. So I'm excited to see those two. Other than that, I kind of expected most of these ladies to be in there. If I'm kind of talking about people that I don't want to be in there, I would say that the only two people that kind of don't make too much sense for me and that I would switch out for other people would be, no offense, Bailey, and the other one would be Naomi. I just think that one, Bailey has been giving enough opportunities recently that she can kind of, you know, sit on the sideline for a bit and let some of these other girls get a chance at it. And then Naomi, she just kind of gets filled in where she needs to. And that's no offense to her. She's great. But she is kind of a tag team wrestler. You know, she hasn't really made that huge impact of solo superstar for me to believe that she's going to win this elimination chamber, sadly. So those are the two people that I would say that don't really necessarily fit in this one. I want to know your thoughts. How are you looking at the ladies this time around? Are you excited to see Roxanne in this? Do you think that Bailey deserves this opportunity again? And do you think that we might get some kind of confrontation between the or the X tag champs now, Naomi and Bianca within this elimination chamber?
Yeah, I'm excited definitely to watch Roxanne Perez. I'm excited because last year, Tiffany Stratton was in a very similar spot to Roxanne, where she had recently had made her main roster debut when the Elimination Chamber was around the corner. She qualified. She had a phenomenal outing. Um, if I'm not mistaken, this may have been her first uh, pay per view on the main roster. And the being that it was in Perth, Australia, the fucking Australians love them some Tiffany Stratton, and I think that really propelled her and launched her on a rocket. And I think and I hope Roxanne is going to have the same sort of outing here this year, because she's fantastic. I think like her size was concerning to me, only because like of believability on television, but she's so good in the ring that shit does not matter. She's fantastic. So I'm excited for her to be in the elimination chamber. I'm looking forward to seeing her interact with the likes of like a Liv Morgan, of an Alexa Bliss, even Bianca Belair. But I think the end goal in that, and in your same sentiment you asking me about Bailey, I think the reason why both Bailey and Roxanne Perez are in this match is because that's a WrestleMania match that they're going to develop and continue to flesh out, because Bailey and Roxanne have already had a little bit of a feud on NXT already. And so they're building that up. I think the Elimination Chamber results in some fireworks between that feud there, which will cultivate into a WrestleMania match for both women there. Um, so in terms of your question asking me if I think Bailey deserves it, I think she does. I rock with Bailey. I don't mind Bailey at all. Last year, her and Io Sky put on a hell of a fucking WrestleMania match. Let's not forget that. I can understand, wanting other superstars to receive an opportunity, but I think Bailey, respectfully, is in the same like category as likes of a Charlotte Flair. The same way you feel about Charlotte Flair, a lot of people feel about Bailey. So I think if they hold her in that same breath, she deserves to be in that spot. And if the end goal is a Mania match between Roxanne and Bailey, then this makes sense here. So I'm not mad at it. In terms of Naomi being the tag, I hear you on that sentiment. She has not had uh a strong enough singles run to make me believe that she even has a remote chance to win this match. So I agree with you on that front there. She has been more of a tag team wrestler this go around, or especially at the last couple of months. And in terms of Bianca Belair and Naomi, now the former WWE Women's Tag Champions, because they lost their tag championships tonight in a what is probably one of the best women's tag matches, if not just matches in general. One of the best tag matches in general that I've seen in a long time. They just put on a great main event on a random fucking Monday night episode of Raw. And please, if you have an opportunity to go watch this match, it was fantastic. A lot of close calls here. I didn't know who was going to win this match at all. I was waiting anxiously for Jade's return. I thought we were going to get that, but we didn't get that tonight. Um, it would be great to see her at the Elimination Chamber, Jade. If she does return, we'll see. I think that storyline is kind of like dying down and fizzling out. If they don't pick that shit back up, I don't know where they're going with it. Um, but all in all, the tag champs, the former tag champs, I think they're gonna have to face some demons there in Jade Cargill, at this Elimination Chamber or shortly thereafter. But this one's gonna be a fun one between all six women. I want to hear your thoughts here on who do you think is going to be your final three in this women's Elimination Chamber, if you had to guess.
Oof. Okay, if I'm gonna have to guess right now, just based off the women that I'm looking at, I'm gonna go Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, and Roxanne. I think that you have a good showing in three people right there. You have the old guard that has come back, the current guard that has held it down, and the young lion that wants to take over. And I think that's going to be an amazing, standoff between the three of them. And out of those three, I don't think anybody would be mad if any of them won. Maybe Liv just because she's gotten a couple chances here and there recently, but she has been someone that while we had a lot of big players out, she stepped up. And like you said, tonight's match, the women's match, was probably one of the great ones. And I have to give a round of applause to Liv because she definitely showed her evolution in the ring within this match. She didn't mess us up. She looked as professional as I think I've ever seen her look. And it just goes to the work that she has really put in over the last, I would say, 2 years. She's really come into her own, and it's something that you want to showcase during a match like an Elimination Chamber. So to have those three face off at the end, I think would be amazing. Who are the three that you would like to see at the end of this match?
Definitely Roxanne Perez. Liv Morgan is tough. Okay, I want to see Bianca Belair. I want to see Bianca. I want to see Roxanne. So that's my 2 out of 3 that I need to see in my final three. I would have to give it to Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, and Roxanne Perez. If those three are my final three women, I could live with that. If Liv gets eliminated by Bianca Belair because of what just happened today, I could live with that. If the final two is Bianca and Roxanne, phenomenal final two. Give them a solid fucking 10 minutes to just go at it between themselves and figure out a finish. But Bianca and Roxanne in the Elimination Chamber, come on, cooking. That'd be great. I love Alexa Bliss, but she doesn't stand a chance against Bianca Belair. And Roxanne Perez, look, Alexa, I fucks with you, but I hate to say it, Roxanne Perez is kind of nice. I would think. Listen, I'm being disrespectful because Alexa's kind of nice too, but Roxanne is different. I
Mm-hmm.
would have Roxanne and Bianca Belair in the final two. Winner here to go on to face Rhea. Winner, personally, personally, I would want it to be Bianca Belair. That's just me. But with the way this WrestleMania buildup has been going, I would kind of like to save this for us. I would like to save this so it doesn't get lost in the sauce. I don't want it to get lost in what's going on with the Rock, Cody, and all that shit. I want this to be like Bianca and Rhea could main event the shit.
Yeah.
And if it has to wait a year, I would have them wait a year to do it at 42 because that's a main event match. Bianca and Rhea is a main event match. And if Roxanne wins this shit here and goes on to face Rhea, I'd be cool with that. I wouldn't be mad at it. That I would personally like the way I'm looking at it. Out of these six women, who would I give a fuck about the most? If they were to face Rhea, whose feud would I care about the most? Whose feud would bring me in the most? It would be either Roxanne or Bianca, just because of where they stand. And I think those are just my two picks. I would, if I had to pick one, give me Bianca. If you had to pick one, who would you be taking to win this year's Elimination Chamber?
I'm gonna be a little bit biased here because I love my NXT superstars, and I really want them to give out of everything that she's done down in NXT. I think she deserves a huge moment, so I would want Roxanne to win this to go on to have her moment at WrestleMania. So if you're gonna ask me who I'm locking in, I'm gonna lock in Roxanne just because I like the prospect of what could bring. I'm not saying it's the most logical pick because there is a gigantic size difference, but that's never hindered Rhea from putting on a great match. As we'll see next week with her versus Io, she's great at working with the smaller people. So I think we can get a really solid match out of these two. So my pick is going to be Roxanne.
Okay, I can get jiggy with that. I'm cool with that. That's my second pick, but
Yeah.
I'm picking Bianca because I fucks with you, Bianca, because you the EST, you the EST in the WWE, and I hope that you win this weekend's Elimination Chamber. You mentioned Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. I must say, I'm a little disappointed Io Sky isn't in this Elimination Chamber. She could have easily, easily replaced Naomi. She
Mhm.
could have easily replaced Alexa Bliss. Um, and she could have replaced Bailey, but because Bailey got the Roxanne, she got the Roxanne thing going on. So we gonna see if that feud plays out. We're gonna see how that plays out. So I think Io would have fit in great here, and she would have been my pick to win here. She was
Yeah.
my pick to win the Rumble. And we unfortunately what I thought was going to be a Mania match, Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley. You thought that as well. We're getting it on an episode of Monday Night Raw next week on the March 3rd episode of Raw. Listen, I'm excited for the match, but with it not being at WrestleMania, I just know it's not gonna live up to the potential that I have it's in my head.
Mhm.
Um, they're not gonna have the they're not gonna have the time to put on the level of what they would have done at a WrestleMania. So that's the only thing I'm a little off put about. I'm sure they're gonna put on a great match. Raw. Listen, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Naomi, and Bianca tonight put on a fucking phenomenal match. If Io Sky and Rhea could do uh half of what Liv and company did today, then they're gonna put on a good match as well. But just my thoughts on that. I just wanted to ask your thoughts on the Rhea and Io Sky match there. Do you think Io has a chance at all to win here as well? Another question I wanted to ask you.
This could be honestly, this just could be another point where WWE could surprise us because I think they've been pretty good at pointing out when someone challenges a current champion, they sometimes tend to point out, hey, if you're the champion, you're the one that I'm going to challenge. So if WWE really wants to shake things up, why not let Io win? You know, I love Rhea, but I don't necessarily need to see her in the main event or not main event in you know a match at WrestleMania carrying that belt. If you give it to Io and then she's the one that fights the winner of the Elimination Chamber, I would be perfectly fine with that. What are the chances that will happen? Probably very slim. I think that Rhea walks in this, we get a decent match from these two in the short amount of time that they give them, and Rhea walks out and she has her match at Mania. You know, with whoever wins at the Elimination Chamber. I'm with you on the fact that this will be a lot not more disappointing, but it's just not going to have that oomph that it would have had if they would have put this at a WrestleMania. You and me had both figured that this was going to be the WrestleMania match, which would have been a phenomenal one. But here we are, and this is what we have to go with. So I don't see Io winning her championship shot next week, but it is what it is. You know, Rhea's gonna make her appearance at WrestleMania, and this is just a bump in the road to WrestleMania. Sadly, you said it too that you know we were disappointed she just wasn't in the Elimination Chamber. The Elimination Chamber War Games. They scream Io Sky. Why is she not in here? I don't know. Hopefully they have something bigger prepared for her. If it's in this match, I'll be happy. If it's not, then I just want to see her win something soon because she is someone that just brings that extra oomph when it comes to you know performing inside of that ring.
She's a different level of talented when it comes to in-ring ability. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley as well. I think both women have the potential to put on an absolute barn burner, a five-star match. But with the time constraint that I feel like they're gonna have, I just wish we would have got it at a WrestleMania, especially with like just both of their level of professional wrestling and their skill set clashing together again, and they have a story. Like they have faced each other on NXT twice. Io Sky winning both times, put on great matches. So there's a story there. Rhea is 0-2. They brought it up in a promo today that they had as they built up to the match. But Io is 2-0 against Rhea. So Rhea's fighting an uphill battle here. But you know, Rhea hasn't lost a match in I can't remember how long the last time she's lost a match. People joke online, Rhea Hogan. So I can understand where they're coming from. Um, but deservingly so. I say that deservingly so. Uh, but I'm excited for the match. I think they're gonna put on a great one. But wish it would have took place at a WrestleMania. But it's all good. We take what we can get. All in all, looking forward to seeing who is the winner of the Elimination Chamber and who they're going to go on to face following the main event of next week's Monday Night Raw. Well, that is still going to be up for play. And we will find out next week. But moving on, we already talked about this one here. Wanted just to confirm your entry and your pick for the unsanctioned match between Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Who do you have winning this match? Do you think Randy Orton will make his return to our television screens as well?
Yeah, we brought it up lightly earlier. I think these two are going to go out there. They're going to try to kill each other. They've done this kind of shit before. They're notorious indie wrestlers, so they obviously have some of that extra grit that indie wrestlers carry. when they decide to do these more hardcore matches. So I'm very excited to see these two burn the place down, preferably. And also, I'm gonna lock in KO. I said KO earlier, and I think I'm just gonna add on to your prediction as well. I think KO brutalizes fucking um Sami Zayn, and that's what invokes an a Randy Orton return. And I think that's where we had post this. I think Sammy gets cleared, and he goes on and he does his own thing, for Mania, or if he even has something for Mania. But the bigger picture is here is getting towards Randy versus KO, which I personally think will be the better match for a WrestleMania between these two, because Randy decides to kick it up a notch every time he gets into a WrestleMania match. We've seen it a couple years ago with that phenomenal RKO curb stomp thing that he did with Seth Rollins. So I'm excited. I'm excited that there is a potential that Randy Orton returns in here, and that we get that KO versus Randy Orton grudge match for WrestleMania.
Yeah, if Randy Orton gets to that match, he's gonna get like Kevin Owens is gonna go for a Canadian Destroyer, and somehow, some way, Randy's gonna turn that into a RKO, just to get it back. But nah, I am personally, I'm picking Sami Zayn to win here. Do I think Randy Orton makes his return? I do think so. All right, let me be logical. Kevin Owens is gonna win this fucking match. Kevin Owens is gonna win this match, um, and he's gonna try to injure Sami Zayn. But Randy Orton's gonna come out, save the day, and we're gonna move on forward from there. I think that's what is going to happen. What I want to happen is Sami Zayn to haluva kick Kevin Owens about 3 times, take the win here. Randy Orton comes out, celebrates with Sammy, and Punk kicks Kevin Owens just for the shit of it. That would be fantastic. If we get a return from Randy Orton, I want to see him bald headed again. I want to see him back on Demon Time. Need him back with his black Air Forces on. And I am going to be looking forward to the match against Kevin Owens at WrestleMania when that does happen. So, all in all, it's going to be a fun match, unsanctioned, no disqualifications. This is going to be bloody, in my opinion. This is going to be personal, and this one is going to be emotional. I'm curious to see if both Kevin and Sami Zayn's family will be up front and center. I know the WWE loves to now show like wrestlers' families, especially with storylines. We've seen it with like Dom and Rey Mysterio, even Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable when they were doing that angle. So we've seen it, and even Gunther as well. Like we've seen this take place, and I think having both Kevin and Sammy's families there would be fantastic to and be a fantastic layer to add to this already to this amazing story. Before I move on to the next match here, do you think the WWE is inviting both of these superstars' families to be in the front row during this match?
Yeah, that would be a class act. I would think so, right? I mean, normally Sammy during his more challenging matches, he'll bring out his family. I don't know if we've ever seen KO's family on ringside, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, why not give them a little bit more ammo to use during the match, So it'd be
Yeah,
interesting, but I don't know. I would assume just off of history, Sammy's family will definitely be there. But KO's, I don't know. I don't know if KO's family will be there, but KO would definitely fuck with Sammy's family if they're out there.
for sure. I think Sammy's gonna be there for sure. I do think Kevin Owens' family will be there also. Um, and I think we're gonna have those interactions. I'm looking forward to this match. As much as I'm looking forward to the Elimination Chamber itself, I am very much looking forward to this one. So we'll see how this plays out in Toronto, Canada. With the final match of the night, wanted to ask your opinion on the women's tag match that will be taking place here, which will be Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Do you think this will be the last time that Tiffany Stratton will have to deal with Nia Jax for a little bit? And who do you have winning this match here?
I really hope so. I think I'm with you with in the sentiment that I'm done watching these two go up against each other. We've had our fun. She took the belt off of her, and Naya has proven that she can't take it back one way or another. So I think it's time to move away from this. I know that Trish Stratus is in this match because she's been around the company for the last couple months and they wanted to do something with her leading into WrestleMania, and the first stop was Elimination Chamber. I'm guessing that's why they put her in this match. I don't know how much she's gonna do. I know that she is gonna be around for a little bit, but it's like I said before, it's always great to see her. So this match, kind of a not to be offensive, kind of a bathroom break. So I kind of see, the faces winning this. Tiffy and Trish, there's no reason for them to lose, especially with the way that Nia has been acting recently. So I think these two ladies will stand on top. And like you said, hopefully this is the fucking final end to this goddamn feud because I am done with it. As much as I'm done seeing Bailey versus Nia, I am done seeing Trish or Tiffy versus Nia
Hey,
already. So we need to move on.
I agree with needing to move on from here. Calling this a bathroom break is crazy. What I disagree, not necessarily. But I'm definitely tired of the Tiffany and Nia Jax interaction, and I don't get tired of Tiffany. But god damn it, I'm getting tired of Tiffany talking to Nia. Let's cut that shit already. I'm sick of that. So let's move forward, moving on from this match here. After this is over, please. I don't even want to see Tiffany and Candice LeRae in the same room anymore. Get that shit out of here as well. Like let's just stop, please. I don't want to hear it all together. Let's wrap it up. If we gotta trade them to Raw, if we gotta trade them to Raw for give a fuck for some money, let's do that. But just please send Nia Jax and Candice LeRae outside of a 50, 100, 200 foot radius of Tiffany Stratton, please. Um, but I do think the champion, the current women's champion, and Trish Stratus will win this match here. Trish Stratus is in her home country as well. She is Canadian, so that is why she interjected herself in this feud. So I think Tiffany and Trish go over here. Uh, how that makes sense with Nia being the size that she is compared to Trish and Tiffany. I don't know how they get there, but I do think they get there. But I will be looking forward to just seeing the end of this Tiffany and Nia Jax feud, at least for the time being. Speaking of Nia Jax, I have to ask you about her family member, The Rock. With the final question of the night, as we head into the Elimination Chamber, as we are going now into the thick of the road to WrestleMania, um, with The Rock making his return to WWE television as the final boss, asking for Cody's soul, asking for Cody to be his champion. Do you think Cody will be accepting The Rock's offer here?
No, and only because I do feel like The Rock will have to pick a different champion to go up against Cody. If he really does want the belt or whatever, or if you want to call the belt his soul, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I think that you have to get to him a different way. I know that it kind of makes sense for Rock to take over and then pressure him to do stuff, but I just don't want that to be the reason why we get heel Cody. I want that to happen on its own. So I really do want Cody on Saturday to deny his offer, because if he denies his offer, I would assume that The Rock probably already had that in mind and he introduces who he wants as champion. So at the end of the night, I would like to know who the Rock champion will be. I just don't think it's going to be Cody. What do you think?
I don't think Cody's going to be his champion either. I think it's going to be someone that's in that elimination chamber. Who that will be, I am not 100% sure. But we did talk about Seth Rollins earlier. I do want to mention that tonight Cody and Seth had that face off, that confrontation. Cody was set to address the Monday Night Raw fans following The Rock's offer. While he was addressing the fans, Seth's music interrupted. Seth and Cody had a little bit of a back and forth. Seth kind of confronted Cody and asked him and told him, basically said, "Hey, like, I just need to know what the fuck you're thinking about The Rock's offer because I helped you out last year. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in, et cetera, et cetera. And Cody was like, "Hold up, hold up, hold up, now, man. You need to calm your ass down because you over here coming to me like you're being judgmental and you're judging me. And the last person that should be judging me is the motherfucker." Who keeps stabbing people in the back, who broke up the shield, who turned to the authority. If there's anyone who's compromised, it's you. And so Cody was talking crazy. So see, that's what I'm saying. He has a point. Seth Rollins could very easily, turn to The Rock, be like, you know what, fuck him. Let me go team up with you and let me go get my main event spot back and face Cody. But you said it. You said it doesn't make sense for Seth's character arc at this point in his career. I would agree with that, but we'll wait. We'll have to wait and see. I think who he selects as his champion per se. I think it's gonna be CM Punk. I think it's gonna be CM Punk or Drew McIntyre, one or the other. And I think Cody rejects his offer here, and I don't think Cody's ready to turn into Homelander just yet. I think WWE has to pump some more merch out before they get remotely close to even teasing a heel turn on Cody's front. But I'm excited for it. Not as excited as I was for The Rock's interjection last year, but I would say I'm more curious to see how this plays out than I am excited. I think curious is the right word for me to describe how I'm feeling about this whole WrestleMania build up in the road to WrestleMania. But am going to look forward to the Elimination Chamber this weekend. It will be taking place this Saturday, March 1st at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm looking forward to talking about that with you and reviewing that with you on our next episode of the Word Around the Ring podcast. But with that being said, please enjoy this weekend's pay per view, everybody. We're looking forward to watching that and looking forward to reviewing that for you. King Jess, if you would so kindly take it away.
That brings this week's show to an end. I'd like to thank everyone and anyone who's listening for giving us a chance. I hope you enjoyed the show and come back next week for more. Like always, a like, a comment, a follow goes a long way. Also shows y'all are still rocking with us. This week's question: do you still watch AEW? No dig. I just want to scope out how many of our listeners are still watching. I promise, no dig. I just want to know, should we be covering this? I kind of in a sense, I watch AEW from time to time, so I just want to know: are listeners still watching AEW? Do you guys want us to cover AEW? I will go out of the way to cover AEW at least a little bit each week if that's what you guys want. So let us know in the comments down below. Till next week, remember, you know about 60 holds, I know about 1,004, and I wrote them all down. Here we go.